Welcome, Earthlings! From the minds of Dylan Oltoft and Rob McNair, we bring you Laughing on a Prayer!
You know, Rob, if you ever tell a joke in Germany, be very careful, because Germans take comedy very seriously.
Yeah, I agree. Comedy is no laughing matter.
Exactly.
Yeah. Stop laughing, it's not funny!
I remember that episode on South Park when they were doing a gag about they voted Germans most unfunny people in the world, and their contenders were apparently, I think it was like Eskimos, and what was the other option? There was even they were taking the piss out of the comedy award ceremony because of the paradox of having an award for comedy. Because giving something an award is seriously recognising it. Yeah. So how do you have a comedy award? Comedy's a joke.
Yeah.
Which actually has some real truth to it. The idea of having a comedy award means you haven't understood comedy.
Yeah, I do like how South Park do that, to be fair, that sort of...
Oh, they're really good with their satire. Hello there, everybody. And I can't be asked to say it, Rob. You greet everyone this time. I can't do it again.
Sup, fuckers.
Okay, now I've realised why I need to do it.
Did I do it? Did I do it right? Did I do it good, Dylan? Did I do good, Dylan?
Just tell them what they're listening to and who we are. Okay, I'll take it from there.
You're listening to Praying and Laugh. No, hold on. I wrote this down. Laughing on a Prayer. That doesn't sound right.
Why did you write it on your penis?
Because like, I think I can't. Because otherwise, where else am I going to write it?
Yeah, but did you have to write it in a circular motion like the One Ring?
Yes, absolutely. My penis is the only thing that is A, out, and B, to hand.
God damn it, look at it. This thing's written like a turkey Twizzler.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you, Jamie Oliver. I still got your number, boy.
God, that'd be the worst thing ever, a slinky dick.
A slinky dick?
Wait, don't pigs have slinky dicks? Isn't theirs curly?
Ducks do.
Ducks or... Wait,
pigs have curly tails.
How do either of us know that? Anyway, everyone,
Internet.
Fuck it. Welcome to the next episode of Laughing on a Prayer. My name is Dylan Oltoft, and that's...
I'm Rob.
That's Rob.
Yeah, I'm the professional of whatever this is.
Could you imagine us on the fucking radio, always having to do that radio persona? Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Laughing on a Prayer. Coming up soon, we're going to be having a new tickets giveaway session, but make sure that first, here is Smash Mouth All-Star. Somebody wants...
We wouldn't even play the song, it would just be you singing it.
That's how we avoid the copyright. Yeah, exactly. No backing track or anything, just me going, somebody, and I won't lie, I don't really know any of the lyrics past like the opening bit, like when they don't start cut, I lose it past that point.
Somebody once told me that the world was going to roll me. And that's it.
Do you have any inkling about the severity of your sharpness in a specific backyard location?
Well, I did, but then I started doing this podcast and my brain began to melt and I forgot.
God, you certainly are the blunt fork in the drawer.
Yes, as the old saying goes, the blunt fork in the drawer, ladies and gentlemen. That is me. I'm the blunt fork in the drawer.
Do you think forks are better off blunt?
It depends what end. Because if the handle's really sharp, it's not going to be very good, is it?
What has a sharp handle?
Well, nothing, which is why...
That's the point of a handle, it's not meant to be sharp.
Which is why, if the handle's sharp, then it's not going to be a very good fork. But you don't want to have, a rounded end to the forks, because, then it won't be able to, poke the food.
This is an interesting start to the episode. Me and Rob, though you might not believe us, we're doing an episode about comedy. Rob, you ever partook in the whole comedy?
I've partaken in the comedy, and I've done it a little bit. Started doing it with this guy. What's his name? His name's Dylan Oltoft. He's all right.
They say comedy's the best medicine, but when I kept telling all these fucking these gallows humour jokes down at the dying children's hospital, no one got better.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, I was told later a lot of them got worse.
Yeah, exactly. And all of your mum jokes at the orphanage, they were lost, mate. Like they just couldn't get it. Do you know what I mean? Honestly.
Yeah. Terrible audience. The show was great, the audience was terrible.
Yeah.
I think that's a famous Oscar Wilde quote.
Oh, yeah.
The show went great, but the audience was terrible.
Yeah, that Oscar Wilde, I think it might be, yeah. And the audience was a disaster.
But yes, I suppose me and Rob identify as comedians, which is why we get special handicap parking, because that's how we identify. And if you say otherwise, you're oppressing us.
You're oppressing my comedy thing. I wouldn't identify myself as a comedian.
Does that mean we can add a C onto the LGBT plus? Comedians, that's how we self-identify.
I don't think being comedian is like a sexuality. Or
I would debate that strongly.
Oh, sorry. I identify as attracted to funny. Well, actually, people are attracted to funny people, but.
Well, no, I think I do sexually identify as a comedian because whenever a partner looks at my knob, they laugh.
Oh.
Oh, Christ.
So is this your coming out as a comedian episode? Or? I support you, man.
Self-deprecation is the cornerstone of many comedians, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think I would like to reach the level of self-deprecation where people don't know whether I'm joking or not.
Well, what's the old saying? It's either keep laughing or you won't be able to stop crying.
Yeah, exactly. I have to laugh because otherwise I would cry. Which is true.
The old adage that comedy comes from misery.
Yeah, I think finding comedy in misery is definitely something that people sort of do as like coping mechanism in a way.
Well, I've often said that's why a lot of American comedy movies have often failed to really hammer home a really strong laugh because no offence if any Americans listening, but it does seem in contrast to a lot of British comedy, Americans don't seem to understand that it's really funny to laugh at someone's expense. Like, Americans' idea of comedy is maybe someone's a bit embarrassed, but they're okay. But British comedy is someone gets twatted in the face, and the more hurt they are, the funnier it is. If someone got twatted in the face and there was no reaction from them, that's not funny. But if they feel a shit ton of pain, that's then funny.
I think that, so a lot of, like, American comedy and stuff is, you know, there is a formula that works with some of them.
I think it's the idea that the main character is flawless. Whereas in so many British comedies, the comedy comes from how flawed the main character is. Like, they're selfish, they're narcissistic, they're petty, they're self-conscious, they're repressed. All these negative emotional traits that cause their own misery that we laugh at.
I think I might disagree on you that the American protagonist in comedy is flawless.
For example?
Well, I mean, he's alright, but like Seth Rogen, you know, he's like, his protagonists are often, they have some sort of issue, like, you know, I mean, yeah, Seth Rogen, weed's funny, yeah, we get it, mate, you're nearly 40, but there is like a story arc of them kind of being a bit, you know, I mean, Seth Rogen, it's like he's like thoughtless in a way. Will Ferrell as well. I mean, like Anchorman, he's like pretty narcissistic, to be fair. He's
I'd say a lot of those are inspired by British comedy, though. Like a lot of modern, you think of American comedy and you think of like, I honestly relate them more towards the idea of making jokes about bodily functions.
Well, yeah, but it's like, it's not that like all. I mean, there are flawed American. I think quite a few like comedic American characters.
Like, you know the Lego Movie, the guy that says, "Honey, do you know where my pants are?" That's clearly a joke about like American comedies. Like, there's no joke. It's just like, I'm not wearing my pants.
How hilarious.
I'm not saying our comedy is fucking flawless. There's been plenty of British bombs, but I honestly feel like British people, maybe it's our culture or something, that we tend to understand, like you said, coping mechanism. Because a lot of British humour is gallows humour.
Yeah, and I think it's in our culture to be very self-deprecating as well.
Americans take a lot of pride. Like, you say, like, person from Chicago, you ask, what's Chicago like? Say, oh, Chicago's great. I'm not going to do the accent. No. Chicago's great. The pizza's perfect. The team is everything. Someone from fucking Luton. What's Luton like? It's shit.
I think that's also good. It's like, again, like, it's very young, but like, if even if you are American and you chat shit about America, Americans will get pissed off. Whereas British people will be the first to tell you, yeah, Britain's a bit shit, mate.
Yeah.
But like, if you say American shit, they'll be like, no, it's not the greatest country in the world. But if like an American said, oh, it's kind of crap here, man, you'd be like, yeah, mate, it is.
Apart from Londoners, I've noticed they seem to have a very almost American mentality. Whereas you talk shit about London to a Londoner, and they'll get really defensive. Like you tell that to like any other place in Britain, like the north or the south, is like, yeah, it's shit around here. The weather's always shit.
like,
Everything's shit. Like
one of like the Scottish stereotype or Scottish sort of things is chatting shit about Glasgow.
oh, exactly.
And Paisley. Like, yeah, no, there is definitely a difference, but I feel that Americans, they've sort of worked out the formula for what their, kind of demographic like, and so they carry on making those sort of films. Where I think a British comedy film might have like a bit more, like, it might not do as well, which is why, like, in America it might not do as well.
Well, look at some of America's most successful shows. Even The American Office was stolen from the British Office.
Yeah, they've stolen...
Two and a Half Men was based off the old British classic Two Grumpy Men.
Really?
Like, oh, dude, come on. Like, Two and a Half Men is absolutely British humour.
I haven't seen Two Grumpy Men.
No, I'm just saying, like, Two and a Half Men itself is absolutely English humour. Like, two guys taking the piss out of each other with how unfortunate their lives are, sort of thing.
Well, one of their lives.
Yeah, exactly. One's doing really well and one sucks.
In-Betweeners, they did an American In-Betweeners. Also, they've done, oh my god, I fucking hate this. If anyone's seen BBC Ghosts, America has nicked that as well recently, and it looks real bad.
Now, I'm not saying America's never made a comedy film, because Mel Brooks, I believe, is American, and he's come out with, like, fucking bangers, like Airplane, The Producers, Spaceballs, Blazing Saddles,
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
So don't get me wrong, America has had good comedies, but it seems to see overall the culture of America doesn't seem to equate someone in pain or misery with it being funny. You make a dark joke, it's like, that's awful. Why were you laughing at such a thing?
I think as well.
I know I'm being stereotypical, but I don't care.
I think like you said, like British humour is a lot more. It's like mean-spirited, but not actually. If you know what I mean. So it's
I think we understand it's just a joke.
Yeah. So
like what's it called? Like cancel culture or SJWs. That did not develop in Britain. That developed in America.
Oh, it's developed. I mean, the thing is though, it's like this idea of cancel culture. Like, it's not like a new thing. Like, it's been going. So it's like people in the adults in the 1940s. Right then growing up in the 1950s, they're like, oh, those kids are listening to them record players. Oh, this is terrible. And then it goes, the 1960s. Oh, they're smoking dope. And then it goes to the 80s. They're listening to heavy metal, and that causes Satanism.
I'd say
we need to cancel this.
Cancel culture goes back even further, because whether you like it or not, technically minstrel shows got cancelled. There became a point where culture evolved, civil rights increased, and all that sort of thing, and everyone was like, no. This is wrong. We're cancelling this, and then there were no more minstrel shows.
Yeah, I think the idea that,
and that itself was meant to be like comedy.
I think the idea though is that again, they didn't really get the joke. Is that they're actually just making fun of black people, whereas, for instance, like Tropic Thunder, most notably, Robert Downey Jr. He's doing this thing, but you're never actually making fun of black people. You're making fun of the white guy that's just too wrapped up in his own arse.
I think
he's like, he doesn't understand. Whereas minstrel shows are like literally just making fun of people. It's like there's no joke. You're just making fun of someone in like sort of for something they can't help as well. Like if you make fun of someone for like terrible behavior, that's something they can help. But if you make fun of someone for something they can't help, then it's like, well, like you could do it, but you didn't need to use the most, kind of intelligent way of actually trying to make a joke out of it. You sort of, you went for the low-hanging fruit and...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd say the distinction between Tropic Thunder and Minstrel Show is how other characters work off of that. For example, in minstrel shows, everyone in the context of minstrel shows was laughing along, whereas in Tropic Thunder, every other character called out Robert Downey Jr.'s character. For even the black guy in that movie called him out for being racist. Like, what do you mean, you people?
What do you mean?
And that's what it is. They weren't celebrating the idea like, yeah, you're doing a great thing. everyone was calling that character out for being dumb and racist.
Exactly. They're not
so therefore, it's not racist because he's the only one who he's made to look like an idiot for doing it.
Exactly. They're not making.
He's ridiculed for it.
They're not making fun of the of like black people. They're making fun of the the white guy that's just like so sort of just galaxy brain ignorant, right?
Well,
whereas minstrel shows were deliberately meant to make fun of black people.
And yes, and yet they were cancelled. So like you said before, cancel culture is not new. Gilbert Gottfried made a joke about the tsunami that happened in Japan years ago, and he lost work because of it. Cancel culture's always been happening because as the cultural needle moves forward, certain things and certain norms suddenly become outdated and even insensitive. And everyone doesn't need to wet their pants saying, oh, if we don't... Imagine if someone had gone, they're getting rid of minstrel shows. You can't make jokes anymore. Do you see how fucking retarded that sentence sounded?
Stupid.
That's what I see every day when everyone's like, this comedian wasn't allowed to blurt out the most horrific shit in the world. They're a completely fascist world now. You sound like a fucking idiot.
I think, though, that it's down to sort of like freedom of speech. Like, I think you should be allowed to say whatever you want, but you should be allowed to be like people. Like, you can say whatever you want, people can call you out for it. That's fine. But I think the moment you say, oh, you're not allowed to say this, it's like, no, they should be allowed to say it, but you should also be allowed to call them out. And then that's how you can work along. But it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to stop people from talking in the name of progression. It's for dumb shit like, when like, so, oh look, this person tweeted this really like terrible joke like 10 years ago. Fire them, string them up. What
the perfect way to cancel a comedian is? Don't laugh. If a comedian does a really offensive joke, don't laugh. Don't comment, don't like it, don't comment. If a really famous comedian puts out a really offensive joke and he gets no likes and no comments on it, if there's absolutely no reaction, that comedian will then go, that joke didn't work.
Yeah.
I won't say that ever again.
That's how...
comedians don't make these jokes out of fucking principle. They're trying to make people laugh, and if they do something that doesn't make people laugh, they don't do it again.
It doesn't even have to be an offensive joke. It could just be a bad joke.
Exactly. And when a comedian doesn't get the laugh, they stop.
Yeah, it's not just offensive jokes that you shouldn't like if it's just a bad joke,
As a comedian, when you're on stage, and I've been halfway through a set where I've been making a joke about maybe tattoos on my family, and for like 5 straight minutes, I haven't heard a chuckle. I don't finish the set. I move on to the next bit.
Yeah. Because
I'm only hurting myself at that point.
Yeah.
You live and die on the laughter of your audience as a comedian.
Yeah, I think the way I do it, because I do, I mean, it's on this channel. I do Dimitri as like a character. So he's like not, he's not like so you when you do your comedy, you do stuff about your personal life and stuff. Like it's you
sometimes,
doing stuff. Whereas like Dimitri for me is like a different, but he's like character. He's like
I would say on a stage I've adopted a bit of a maybe like a
persona, sure,
a little bit of
persona,
one. Yeah. I'm still technically me, but I'm me performing. I don't know how to articulate.
But like Dimitri's like he's got a silly accent and stuff like that. And so when I write, I actually always prepare in a way to not be laughed at, so I can just carry on going. And it's sort of like, if you throw enough shit at the wall, some of it's going to stick. So if you say enough jokes, someone's going to laugh at one of them.
Well, comedy's a lot like science, isn't it? You have to, what was it? I think it was Adam Driver from Mythbusters said, the difference...
Adam Driver?
Yeah, Adam Driver from Mythbusters.
That's kind of rare. I think you mean Adam Savage.
Adam Savage, apologies. But he actually said...
Imagine Adam Driver on Mythbusters.
I'd
watch that.
He'd be a good sport on that.
Yeah.
It's a shame it's over. But he actually said the difference between science and screwing around is writing it down.
Yeah, exactly.
And comedy is exactly like science. You try something out, you see what happened, and you remember it and try something. And,
there's some microbiologist that's listening to this going, are you really just comparing comedy to science?
Well, yeah, because it's trial and error. You test out an hypothesis or you run an experiment that you don't know the conclusion of is the exact same as a comedian trying out a joke on an audience where he doesn't know the end result.
Let us know in the comments what you guys think about that.
No, fuck you if you disagree, because it is the exact same principle of trial and error upon success conclusion, record the data, try the experiment again with the new data for an alternative reaction.
Do you think that's... So, in a way, porn can be science.
Well, yes, everyone's crap on their first time. You learn, you get better. You find new data. Did they come? No. Okay, so you fuck again, and then you try and go for a new conclusion.
Porn is science. You heard it here first.
Porn is scientific pursuit of increasing your prowess.
If we ever manage to do merchandise, we need to put that on a t-shirt.
Well, you and me are experienced men. Can you imagine how crap you'd be if you'd never had your experience you have?
I'm still crap now.
Pixar, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I'd say comedy's the exact same. Comedians need to fail. It's anything. If you're trying out a sport, if you're entering anything new, you suck before you're good.
Yeah.
And comedy is the exact same. You tell bad jokes, they suck, so you learn from that, and then eventually you start telling good jokes.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think it's definitely... I am suspicious of people that are successful at something, like, right away. Because I'm like, there's something weird about these people.
Talent only lets you rise so far.
Exactly.
And I would honestly argue there's no such thing as talent in comedy. Now, there are people who are naturally charismatic. We've worked with someone in our theatre company who was very naturally charismatic. Luckily, he actually worked on his craft and became legitimate.
Yeah.
But some people are just...
And funny.
But some people... Exactly. But some people who are naturally likeable, that will only carry them so far.
Yeah, man.
Until eventually people will be like, okay, you're great to sort of be around, but do you actually have anything to say? And I'd say I'm on the opposite side of that because I am absolutely not likable. Like, I am very moody and miserable and this and that. So I have to work twice as hard to say stuff that is actually funny in order to get a laugh because I'm not likable at all.
The only reason why I'm doing this podcast with him is because he's holding a gun on me right now.
Oh, you know, I'm an introverted misanthrope. I actually don't like other people. I just want you to find what I say funny because I'm an insufferable narcissist. But
I mean, we are actors as well. Like how sort of, it's like, oh, look, I want my profession to be, everyone look at me and pay me for it. There's got to be some sort of psychological thing, isn't there? Like...
Again, I'd say someone that wants to pursue a career in performance is narcissistic and egotistical. That doesn't make you a bad person. It's if you let that get out of hand, you're an arsehole. Everyone needs to be a little bit egotistical, otherwise you'll be depressed. The ego is naturally occurring so that you have confidence.
But then probably, I think self-confidence and egotism, that's not a word.
Egotism, yes it is.
Oh, so I was going to say egotisticalism.
No, egotism.
Egotism, that's the word that I was looking for.
I'm a writer.
Yeah, I do English.
I write all the good words.
And shit.
And stuff.
Yeah, I think that, having self-confidence, I think, for... performing, you kind of need it. Like, if you're going to put yourself up there in front of loads of people, you've got to have self-confidence. Like, if you don't have self-confidence, then... So,
Well, to be honest, that's why we rehearse our asses off. Like, I know so many people on the stage look cool as a cucumber. I promise you inside they're shitting themselves.
Yeah, I get really drunk before going on stage. I mean, I definitely don't do that. I've never done that ever. Have I, Dylan?
Honestly, the last, I'd say the final 15 minutes before you go out and perform is literally like climbing the steps to the guillotine.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going back to the egotism thing. I just got this thing. It's like, oh yeah, sorry, my vocabulary is really bad. Like, whatever.
But I'd say going on to... what I enjoy especially about comedy is in its many forms. Like, British comedy is very... it's gallows humour. British comedy is very gallows and all that. But what I love about the multiple forms regarding comedy is the vast array in which it multiplies itself in a sort of an eclectic fashion. For example, there is... as I mentioned before, in a lot of American comedy, particularly kids' films, there is... a toilet humour, which I guess some people enjoy that. I detest it. I think it's... Toilet humour for me is... The fart joke in comedy is the equivalent of the jump scare in horror. It's there to get a reaction. It's not actually anything funny. It just makes you react. That's not the same as actual good writing. Fuck you. But I also... one of my most favourite forms of comedy is deadpan, One of my most
Yeah.
favourite comedians is a British comedian called Jack D, and he does deadpan so fucking flawlessly.
Yeah, Joe Brand as well.
Oh, she is amazing. Like, deadpan is such a hard thing to nuance. Because if you try deadpan, you genuinely might come across as just a sort of, not a miserable arsehole, but there's a very fine line between just sort of like apathetic observation and smug judgment.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to be perceived as a smug asshole judging rather than just someone that's just sort of apathetically describing.
Yeah, I also want to say, have you heard of Alexander Pope?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, okay, so this guy said that puns are the lowest form of comedy.
I thought
Now-
that's sarcasm.
Well, either way, if you are holding sarcasm...
No, so sorry. Sarcasm, they say, is the lowest form of wit.
Oh, no.
Apologies.
Okay, fine. But puns, if you are holding... If you think that puns are the lowest form of comedy, that means that you are holding fart jokes above puns. In which case, you are an idiot, Mr. Pope. Fucking at me. He might be dead, in which case, well, he can't fight back.
Am
But
I saying...
I think puns are actually a very high form of comedy, because wordplay can
Yeah.
be very difficult to do.
You need to have an understanding of a context, otherwise a pun makes no sense. You need to understand the context of something. You also then need to disassociate the word itself and combine it with the other one, and it also needs to be relevant. So that's 3 factors just off the top of my head of why a pun can be funny. Don't get me wrong. Puns that don't make sense are a cancer on the pun comedy. Like, for example, in like
If they fail as the joke.
like in the B movie or something, where they just replace any random fucking word with B.
Yeah.
Look, it's my lawnmower.
That's a one-trick pony.
Yeah, like when you're just using something as a crutch, and then there's actually making, like you said, clever wordplay.
Yeah.
2 different things.
I want to stroke my own ego a little bit. I think we did it in the zombie episode when we were talking about Elon Musk's balls. And I said...
There's a reference.
Yeah, and then we called them Tesla-cles.
that was
That
good.
is my best pun that I've ever made in my entire life.
Oh, by all means, have a good stroke, because I can't recall how I reacted, but I imagine I laughed. Because that sounds really good.
And that was it. But yeah, no, wordplay and I do like a good pun every now and then.
I think it's because, especially in our spin-off series, Arthur and Angus, definitely check it out on YouTube. In our spin-off series,
on this YouTube channel.
Arthur and Angus themselves have done a tremendous amount of wordplay. One of my most favourite moments we've ever written was in the bookshop sketch when Angus McHaggis struggled to understand the concept of an atlas.
Oh yeah.
How he constantly kept thinking it was like an autobiography and just didn't really catch on to the idea. It's like, no, Atlas is the Greek titan. Now the one on his shoulder is like, oh, so this is also biography and all that. I know it's not a pun, but it's wordplay. Like misunderstanding, that is another thing that is heavily abused in American comedy. I'm looking at you, Adam Sandler. Misunderstanding is abused so hard it needs counselling.
Yeah.
Because misunderstanding can be very, very clever. Like the famous Who's on Bass sketch. You know, like, who's the guy on bass? Yes, because who's the actual name of the guy? Like,
right.
misunderstanding comedy can be incredibly clever. And then there's just like absolute shit like Meet the Parents
There's
when
also-
someone's misconstrued or they're not catching on to something like, oh,
There's
it's
also
just cringe.
Yeah, like that. What's it in? In Bottom when Rick Bale pretends to be a war veteran from the Falklands. Then he meets the actual war veteran. He's like, "Oh, what outfit were you in?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, the one with the green and the red."
Oh, yeah, and
When
he
meant
called
the
him out,
military
and
outfit.
he was like-
and he's like, "Oh, what clothing?" Like that misunderstanding. Like that.
There was no Grecian Hill. Oh, so you didn't find it, did you? We had a good laugh about you guys. Well, I got my GC. Oh, really? Did you go down the chemist for that sort of thing? Thing is, bottom comedy, they can say anything and they make it into like a punny joke. It's like, oh, I just grabbed myself a bottle. Oh, really? I had that last Tuesday. Penicillin cleared it right up. Like, even to a degree, it doesn't make sense. They sometimes just make it funny.
I think as well, Bottom. I've only seen a few episodes of Bottom.
Oh, Bottom is a comedy series by Alan. I almost said Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman.
Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson.
May he rest in peace. Not Adrian Edmondson, Rick Mail.
Yes, absolutely. Comedy legend.
Bottom as well is also pretty well known for its slapstick comedy as well.
Something that Arthur and Angus has often emulated.
Yeah, and I know I started watching Bottom because people were like referencing Bottoms to Arthur and Angus. I'd never watched it before before we started doing Arthur and Angus. And I started watching it. I was like, oh, I get it now.
Again, though, I stand by the fact that I personally, when I wrote Arthur and Angus, that I based it off the comedy series Red Dwarf, because the idea...
I haven't seen that either.
The idea of the...
I'm talking about comedy, but I haven't seen a lot.
We'll get onto Blackadder and all that.
I feel like I'm a hack.
But on Red Dwarf, obviously the classic science fiction comedy series about a bunch of people that are stranded in outer space. The idea of the mismatched duo is it's
a tale as old as time.
Yeah, it's so rooted back to Laurel and Hardy. You can even go back and further. It's two opposites slung together.
Even, 2.5 Men.
Exactly. And I based Arthur and Angus on Lister and Rimmer because Lister was an absolute slob. He was a Liverpoolian. I don't know what they call themselves. What?
Liverpudlian.
Is that what they call themselves?
Yeah.
Fuck. But yes, he was like from there, and he's an absolute slob. And then there was Rimmer, who was a very uppity, sort of like really high strung, sort of disciplined, sort of wittering spod. And that's why I based those two on, because one drives the other nuts, but because both of them are so unlikable, they only have each other. And that's what I sort of like two people who are opposites, but they have to be friends.
I think that's also a common theme with loads of sort of comedy things. So I'll just ramble Simpsons, Family Guy, American Dad, Archer. I mean, these are all animated. Even so 2.5 Men, Blackadder.
I say animated comedies come a lot further these days than real life.
But my point is that all of these characters in these shows are all, if you were to live with them in real life, they would be insufferable.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that's what makes them, I think, quite funny, is that you can watch these people, whereas if they were to actually sort of be like with you in real life, like it would be absolute hell.
It's interesting you say that. John Cleese?
Not personally, no.
John
He's
Cleese,
from here though, Western Superman.
for anyone who doesn't know, fucking hell, but he was a founding member of Monty Python. He's worked on multiple comedy movies. He's pretty much a comedy legend. Now, you're familiar with Fawlty Towers, right?
I am familiar with Fawlty.
When I was a small human, I actually had the Fawlty Towers box set on VHS video.
On VHS? Oh,
yeah.
Mad lad.
And before each episode, they'd have a little, he was an older man at this point, an interview with him. And he would talk about, like, how it got made. Like, Monty Python themselves were actually staying at a hotel one time. And the hotel manager was exactly like Basil Fawlty. And
No way.
And it was exactly like him. And all of Monty Python was like, fuck this place. And they all left. But John Cleese wanted to stay and observe this man because he found him so fascinating.
You want to observe the car crash?
Yeah, he wanted to watch this guy. And that's what he based it off. And he actually said in the interview, like, Basil Fawlty is this horrible person. He's rude to people. He's impatient. He's verbally abusive. But because he makes you laugh, you like him.
Yeah.
Same with Blackadder. Like you said, all these people are so unlikable, but because they make you laugh with the horrific shit they do, like Bernard Black in Black Books and all that, because they make you laugh, you're on their side for some reason. And they're horrible people.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. If you're going to be a knob, at least be funny.
And that is the ultimate form of charm, isn't it? Like, if when in doubt, if someone makes you laugh, you don't want them to die. And honestly, part of me's often wondered if that's rooted in the fact I was bullied as a young child and then I learned to make people laugh, and maybe that's what started my life in comedy. That's all for a future therapist to tell me. But
well, at least you acknowledged as a child. People just ignored me. They didn't even have the effort to bully me.
But genuinely, people that make you laugh, you want to keep around because laughter is such a natural.
It makes you feel good, doesn't it? Because it releases, endorphins or some shit.
Laughter and sex. And you can't bugger everyone you come into contact with. So I'd say laughter is a faster method to endear someone. Because you can't instantly say, like, say you're in a hostage situation and give all the terrorists a hand job. But you might be able to make them laugh. Best way I could put that.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, I think that, people, funnily enough, people actually like to feel happy. And laughter,
could you imagine?
Yeah, I know. It's fucking nuts, mate. Like, people kind of like to feel happy. And because we are a social species, right?
Ugh.
We come together and, you watch someone... I mean, I'm talking you can watch a funny TV show, funny film, or, stand-up comedian or something. and like coming together with people and laughing all together, like it feels really like good, which is why I think comedy is it's been rooted like just throughout history, like funny. I mean, Aristophanes, 411 BC, Lysistrata. Like, that is a hilarious play.
Oh yes,
It's
just
been-
all centered around giant engorged penises.
Well, I mean, the rendition that we did that was really shit but the actual story is fantastic, and it's so funny. And so, like, comedy's been going on for millennia. It's
Well, even down
thousands
to
of years.
Og, when Og like smacked his friend over the head with a giant caveman club, and all the others laughed.
Yeah.
And then Og's like, "Hey, I'm popular now." Whack, whack, whack.
Yeah, not with his friend who's whacking, though.
No.
Died.
Yes. Well,
But it's like... It's like,
necessary sacrifice.
yeah, but it's like, it's like going back to like, about like slapstick. Like you see someone trip over or slide, like you see those YouTube videos of people like sliding on ice and falling over. It's so dumb, but it's funny.
And like I said before, if there wasn't them feeling pain, it wouldn't be funny. If someone slipped over and they were just fine, that's not funny.
I think it also depends. Like if like someone I didn't know like slips over, I might be like, "You're right." But if it's someone I knew, like if you slipped over on ice, I'd probably piss myself. To be
Oh
fair.
yeah, if I saw my gran slip or something, but that's just about context.
Yeah, but that's different. But it's like you see people like slip over, and you see someone like I don't know walk into something they didn't see. You're sort of like, yeah, that's like pretty funny. Right?
Well, that's the second most important element I personally feel that relates to comedy, and that is the ability to relate. For example, if I go out on a stage of 1,000 people and I start making amazing jokes about the Edo period of samurai warfare, and they're the most cleverest jokes in the world, no one's going to laugh. Because you need to
Unless
be able...
there's that one historian in the episode.
Because one of the most important parts of comedy, the most fundamental part, I would honestly say, is the ability to relate. If you're not talking about things other people understand, they might not necessarily relate to it because they haven't personally...
Like have experienced it.
Yeah, if they haven't personally experienced, because that's the difference between empathy and sympathy. Even if someone hasn't physically gone through it, they can understand your ability to feel those emotions, and you making a joke about it, they can laugh at. But if you can't relate to people on something, they're not going to get what you're talking about. The most important thing any comedian needs to remember is it doesn't matter how funny your joke is. If it appeals to no one, it's not funny.
But yeah, because it's all subversive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think also, speaking of like subjective is what I meant to say, but going on for that, for like subversion of stuff, subverting expectations. If you see a joke
Well, like
coming...
anti-comedy.
Well, no. Like, if you see a joke coming from a mile off, then it's not a good joke. So it's like...
I'd say there are exceptions to that.
Like what?
You've seen the movie Aeroplane, right?
Yeah.
And there's that moment where they say, well, the shit's hit the fan here, and it immediately cuts to a fan, and it's by itself for like a good solid second, and then out of nowhere, a glob of shit smacks into it. Like, you know it's coming, but it's still fucking hilarious.
Do you know that it's going to cut to the thing of the fan and then shit's going to hit it?
Well,
I don't think you do, though.
It cuts to the fan, and then you see the fan, and you're like, okay, I know what's about to happen, and it happens, and it's still really funny.
But I think like if you see if someone like a really obvious joke where you're like, I know this guy's going to say it.
It's hard to distinguish because
then-
there's a difference between a joke you've heard before and a joke you can anticipate. Because the joke you've heard before, you know how it ends, and thus you won't laugh.
Yeah, but like if you anticipate the joke, you know what it's going to be, and you're just like, okay, whatever. Because part of it is because it's like it's the classic rule of three, isn't it? The first one, the second one creates a pattern, and the third one subverts it, and that's the joke. I think making stuff that's predictable, like if you're doing it unironically, then I think that's a bit of a problem.
Well, that's the thing about anti-comedy, isn't it? The whole point is that you know what the punchline is, but because the person telling it verbalizes it in such a way where they not only don't give a fuck, but they just say it so without ceremony or without sort of conviction, that somehow, like, it no longer becomes about what they've said, but how they've said it. So even if you've anticipated the joke, it's all regarding around the context surrounding how they said it.
I don't know. I don't find that very funny.
Well, like
but
the odd,
then it's all subjective. But like, if someone like just because someone delivers it like really well, I already knew what it was, and it's like, okay, so you're relying on delivery rather than the actual joke. I don't really care. But that's me.
Isn't that surrounding similar to Billy Connolly, who tells like stories in terms of other jokes? It's not necessarily.
That's not about subversion. That's about that's.
I'm not saying it's a version, but it's all about how he tells it rather than,
Yeah.
for example, his reflection and how he personally...
Yeah, but I'm talking about people telling like predictive jokes, but then trying to do it just kind of have the crutch of the delivery to make them funny.
Well, there's plenty of one-liner comedians that tell these age-old jokes in their own kooky way, like Milton Jones and...
He has really, like,
even the
original
famous
ones,
Rodney Dangerfield. Like, one-liner comedians, sadly, is an art that's hanging on lifeline sort of thing, but because...
That's so hard to do, though.
Well, yeah, exactly. So you need a way to do it, and that's what that is. It's a specific way to tell the jokes.
Milton Jones has got so many like original ones. Like I think
but if he didn't wear a Hawaiian shirt and look like thingy from how what was it from Something About Mary with his head fucking sticked up.
I've seen Milton Jones live. His why I love his one-line jokes is because they're just like you can never guess what the punchline would be.
But you can't argue there's a lot of delivery to it.
Yeah, there is, but it like part of it is also the fact that you never like he starts off with one thing and then you never would have guessed the punchline.
I suppose, like you said before, it's very subjective and it's hard to clear because there are so many percentages of different elements. It's hard to claim one is responsible for the laughter because it could be chopped up into 20% how he looks, 20% how he delivered it, 40% the joke, and that. It's hard to attribute value to any one over the other.
I have a question.
Yes?
So, this is going to be really open-ended because, like, you're a massive, like, comedy buff. But if there, I hesitate to say this because it's, like, kind of, like, a really tricky question. But it's, like, what is, like, your favourite, like, sort of TV, like, be it, Blackadder, Bottom, Red Dwarf, whatever. What is your sort of favourite joke in kind of, like, a comedy film or TV show? The one that, like, just always, like, no matter how many times you've watched it, you always sort of go like, yeah, that's good, and you like it.
I have 90 examples. Fuck's sake.
Do three.
Okay, I'll start at the third, and this one's... Oh shit! No, we should save it for its own episode. Fuck. Okay, we need to do a Simpsons episode at some point because I have like my top 10 favorite Simpsons jokes. So I won't use that as an example. I'll wait until we do an episode. There's one favourite moment of mine. It's from Black Books. It's actually in the first fucking episode when Bernard gets off the phone and says, we didn't get off the phone. He was speaking to Bill Bailey, who just bought the Little Book of Calm and leaves. And then Bernard goes, "What a strange man." And out of nowhere, unprompted, there's like a good solid two seconds of just like him looking still. He picks up a megaphone and just says to everyone in his shop, "Right, the shop is closed, everybody get out." And he picks up a broom and they're like, "Wait, but it's only 2:30. It's like, "Yes, but it's my shop, isn't it?" It's like, that's hardly fair. It's not fair at all. Go on, get out. Like, I expect better service. You can expect away. Go on, you time-wasting bastards. Goodbye, back to reality. I could spend a good whole episode describing why that is so funny. Just the idea of...
That one like always makes you laugh no matter how many times you laugh.
No matter how many times. It's just that... It is unfair. It's his shop. He's just like... It's the middle of the day and he's sick of people in his shop, so he just gets a megaphone and says for everyone to fucking piss off.
Okay, so that was your number 3. What's your number 2? Giggity. No, that's not giggity. That's disgusting. Whatever. Number 2.
My number 2 is actually from an episode of Red Dwarf. Okay, a little bit of context here. Rimmer is actually a person that's a hologram on the ship who was brought back because he's the main character, David Lister's best friend, supposedly. But he was brought...
He did air quotes, though, there, just to clarify.
He was brought back, essentially, by the ship's computer to keep Lister from going space crazy. Anyway... In the context of in this episode, Rimmer contracts what's basically a hologrammatic virus.
What, like an STD?
No, it's just a virus that drives him insane.
Oh, right. Sorry, my mind just went there. I don't know why.
And he unjustly quarantines each one of the characters in the sick bay because in case they have the virus sort of thing. Like there's Lister, there's Cat, and there's Crichton. Too long to explain. But anyway, it gets to a point now when they're talking about how they can find a way out of there. And you just hear him from the other side of the screen that's blacked out. And he says, "Gentlemen, your discussion makes quite interesting conversation." And you don't see anything. And then the lights come on. And he is in a checkered red and white gingham dress with blonde... The idea is that he's gone insane because of the virus, and they didn't realise that. And he says, "Is something wrong?" Like wearing this, and they say, "No, nothing's wrong, mate. Why would you say that?" And he says, "Really? I'm sat here wearing a checkered gingham dress and army boots, and you're saying nothing's amiss." It's like, we were just checking to make sure we were just humouring you because you got nuts. It's like, good. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's crazy people. He just turns to the side and just screams. Just like, and the scene carries on as like, and they say, "Well, we've all done," they're in the quarantine, it's like, "Well, you got to let us out now, man. We're all clean." And he says, "I can't let you out." And they say, "Why?" He says, "Because the king of the potato people won't let me." And they're like, "Well, he wants to keep you there." I was like, can we speak to him? I was like, "What? Who? The king?" And he says, "Do you guys have a magic carpet?" And he says, "Yeah, we do." Like still humouring is like, "Yeah, we do with little tassels." And he says, "So let me get this straight. You want to take a magic carpet and speak to the king of the potato people and plead for your freedom, and you're telling me you're not insane?"
That is good setup.
It's just absolutely hysterical.
Yeah. I'm like, good setup, and then like, setup and payoff, isn't it?
Like the crazy guy, because they're humouring him because he seems really dangerously insane, and he uses that against them. It's like, so you're saying, because they go along with his nonsense, and because of that, he says, "So you're telling me you're not insane?"
Oh, so you're the weird. Yeah.
That just makes me fall about every fucking time. Just...
You got a number one?
Oh, fuck me inside a hammock.
I think that might be quite difficult because hammocks are a bit,
Only to the unmotivated.
Yeah, only to the weak.
It's so hard to pick because I have so... I've got it.
Okay.
You've seen the movie Mouse Hunt, right? With Lee Evans and Nathan Lane.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're these two brothers that were left a house by their deceased father, and it's infested with a mouse that puts them through horrific torture as they try and get rid of it.
Right.
There's a moment when one of the brothers is chasing a mouse up a chimney, and he gets stuck in the chimney. Now, early before that moment, the mouse had pulled out this nozzle, releasing gas into the air. So the brother that's stuck in the chimney is like, "Lars, help me, I can't move." And the brother can't gets a flashlight, but the flashlight stops working. So what does he then find? He finds a pack of matches. He's like, "Don't worry, Ernie, I've got some matches." And the brother that's stuck is like, "Lars, do you smell something?" "Smells like gas." And then you see Lee Evans light this match, and in slow motion and in giant inferno, and you see Lee Evans go, and he is catapulted halfway across the house. He smashes into a giant Davenport that then falls on him, and the brother that was stuck in the chimney is literally like fired out of it in a blazing inferno, lands in a frozen lake. Every time I watch that, I scream laughing. That is the ultimate disaster movie, my thing, and that scene is just absolutely... It is a perfect cauldron of absurd hilarity.
Yeah.
Slapstick pained hilarity. It is fantastic. just especially leaving his face when the fire starts to spread, and he catapulted back. Again, it comes out for the whole comedy from misery thing, and Nathan Lane is an incredibly funny man. Not only from the producers, but he also worked with Robin Williams in Birdcage as well, where they had to play flamboyant gay men. If you ever get a chance, watch it. It's the most amazing... Again...
Robin Williams was an absolute treasure.
Absolutely. But that's got to be my top one. I can't think of anything in my life that's ever made me laugh harder than that.
Really?
There might have been, but that
Well,
really.
now I feel kind of hurt.
Hey, come on now! I've seen, like
You've seen my penis. You laughed at that.
not as much as you laughed at mine. But anyway.
Yeah, that's a compliment. You're a comedian.
That's what I said earlier. All right, do you have a top three?
Yeah, I do.
Hopefully yours will be less obscure than mine.
Well,
God, I had to
yeah,
tell whole
potentially.
scenes.
Not in any particular order, but I think two of them are from Blackadder.
Oh, good.
Because mainly because they're like one of the things that I don't know. I'll explain why they're sort of fine to me. But the first one is it's in Blackadder Goes Forth, and when George goes to the hospital and he's looking for the spy. And you know this because I do this all the fucking time. But when there's the German, wounded German soldier in there, and he was like, "Oh, Klaus, have you seen any German spies?" He said, "9." Blackadder's got his work cut out for him. You know, it's every time the number.
It's good
9,
misdirection.
Yeah, every time the number 9 is mentioned, in general conversation between you, me, our friends, I just can't help going 9. I don't know why I do it.
Apologies, quick aside, that does remind me of a quick joke. Me and my girlfriend have recently been trying out anal sex, and it turns out she's been rating my performance out of 10 because every time we do it, she keeps screaming 9. Sorry. But I do love that moment in the German hospital. It's like, hope my George here won't be bothering. Na Nakashan, ich bin ein Stafakaden. He's clearly German. But then Blackadder himself says, obvious, but even the Germans wouldn't be stupid enough as to put a really thickly German accented man in our hospital. And then he thinks it's her and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Blackadder, you better have a reason or you'll be shot for being rude to a lady. Sorry, do your next thing before I do the whole scene.
It's in the second one with when he's having the party with his Puritan parents. And
in Blackadder too.
Yeah, Stephen Fry's like, "Great booze up, Blackadder." And then his brother's like, "Can you go explain yourself?" And then he waits for a couple of seconds. Yes. Have you heard of the African tribe leader? Great boo.
Yeah,
he has been taking that.
Yeah, he says, my friend is a missionary. And he's recently been visiting the ancient tribes. And he brought back with him the chief of the tribe. His name was Great Boo. He's been suffering from a sleeping disorder and has now just awoken. Because as you heard, Great Boo's up. Yes, that is a superb, because that is the most cleverest. Even Percy in that scene goes, "Well done, Edmund." It's because that is just the perfect. Because it is such a shit situation to talk yourself out of, and it really shows the character is so good.
My next one, which is it's a bit. I just like it because it's quite funny. So basically, this needs a little bit of context. Is that the BBC Ghosts. Which is a fantastic show. It's called Ghosts. What's it called? It's on the BBC.
Bit of background, sorry.
A bit of background. So basically, there's this couple who inherit this sort of large mansion house, and it's haunted by a load of ghosts. But throughout the ages, so there's a caveman ghost, there's a Regency ghost, there's a World War II ghost, there's a 1980s politician, there's a 1970s. Yeah.
Always wondered about that.
1970s, sort of Scoutmaster ghosts, and they're all sort of connected to this place.
Scoutmaster.
And what happens is the wife in the situation has an accident, sort of near-death experience, and now she can see and talk to the ghosts. Right. And so there's this one ghost called Robin, who's the caveman ghost, and he's actually, funnily enough, the smartest out of all of them, but he's got basically no kind of language sort of motor system, so he's very smart, but his language is very limited. Anyway, there's a part where because obviously the wife now has to kind of live with these seeing and hearing these ghosts all the time, and so there's a part where she's putting on a 1970s football game, for the Scoutmaster Ghost, and then there's a politician who's from the 80s, and then he says like, "Oh yes, this game where Argentina won 2-1 to Brazil with whatever," and then the Scoutmaster Ghost says, "Oh, you absolute!" And then there's the caveman ghost in the background who's doing the crossword, and then he goes, "Ticket," and they're like, "Oh, yeah, that's a bit rude." He's like, "No, permit to travel." Ticket, oh ticket. So it's like, "You absolute dickhead." So it sounds like dickhead, but it's like such a good sort of play on words.
Yeah.
I just like that. I don't know. I always
like a Persic recipe.
Yeah. And there's a bonus one.
Okay, honourable mention.
An honourable mention in Ghosts as well, where they're trying to wake up. There's basically the wife goes out for like a night out. The husband stays home and he like falls asleep. And there's a burglary in progress. And the ghosts, some ghosts have sort of certain abilities they can do. So, for instance, the politician ghost, he can kind of push stuff with his finger. He can kind of move stuff with his finger in a certain way.
Right.
And so they're trying to wake him up, but the husband's obviously asleep. And so again, the one of the other ghosts says like to the politician ghost, it's like, "I'll scratch his head," and he just goes, "Thatcher's dead." Because he's like this sort of very like stereotypical like politician. Oh well, the common man doesn't know how to think. He's like one of those stereotypes, but like
stereotypes. You say?
Yeah, but then again, like very, very, another sort of word, sort of misunderstanding, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
misunderstanding. It's like scratch his head, Thatcher's dead. Yeah, no, those are my. Those. Do you have an honourable mention for people?
Oh, dude, you asshole!
This is comedy. You're in pain, and therefore,
I would honestly yes, and I'll say this because I mentioned Red Dwarf earlier, but this is a moment from Bottom. Have you seen a lot of Bottom?
I have seen the one where they go camping, the one where Richie pretends to be.
Okay, I'll cut to chase. Have you seen the one where they play chess?
No.
Okay, there's an episode where Richie and Eddie don't have the TV because they had to sell it to pay rent or something, and they end up playing chess together. Richie doesn't know how to play chess, and Eddie apparently spends 12 hours teaching Richie how to play chess. And then, after so much frustration and nonsense, Eddie makes his move. He says they're using actual frozen prawns instead of pawns because they haven't got the right pieces. Frozen pawn to king's 4, and like that. And then Richie says, he thinks about it. He goes across the room. He looks at it again. He goes to the side. He thinks about it some more. He goes, He goes to Eddie's side and all that sort of thing. And then out of nowhere, he says, "All right, lads, over the top, charge!" And he just goes off the fucking rails. He takes all of his bishops out of nowhere. He gets those pieces going forward. You, attack, 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 attack. I'm a bishop. I have to go sideways. It's a good solid 2 minutes of Rick Mail doing his insane spiel. And then after that, he goes, and then he taps the side and goes, and then Eddie goes, "That's your move, is it?" But you think it stops there. What Eddie then does, he then takes his one piece and he does the thing you do in checkers, where he starts tapping the board in like multiple places for like a good 30 seconds, pulls all the pieces towards him and then goes, "Checkmate." That is just a perfect scene.
Yeah, so I keep saying it, but like...
So that's an honourable mention for me.
Yeah. So I feel like I need to say it's just for like, just for the purpose of this is the fact that just the caveman character in Ghost is actually like a really good chess player. Like they play, like he's like, because he is like he's a really good player. Sorry, but no, yeah, I think again like that sort of like thing is it's like playing chess is and then like going to the other side of the room and sort of looking at different angles and then just doing the most sort of like belligerent thing ever.
There's a lot,
and then someone else then picks a different game. It's like bits like that. I think I really.
It's like you thought Eddie knew everything about it, and all the frustration was all coming from the idea that Richie didn't get it, and then out of nowhere, Eddie starts using chess like checkers, and then it's like checkmate. It's good subversion.
I used to be part of chess club at school because you had to
I
pick...
love chess.
Really?
Well, you've seen my boards at my house, haven't you?
Yeah,
So-
I mean, the thing is, I only chose chess because you had to pick an extracurricular activity to do, and chess.
You didn't want to play rounders.
I did, but
Nerds!
rounders. Yeah, no. How was I a nerd? All the girls played rounders. All right.
Oh yes, why would you ever want to be around girls?
Well, I mean, that's why I only did drama in GCSE to be around girls.
They did wear leggings.
But
I'm saying that from the perspective of what age I was when I was there.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Did you have skirts?
Sorry?
Skirts.
Skirts.
Yeah, they're shorts, but they look like skirts. It's weird.
No,
so
is that you sure that's not just regular?
No, they were called skirts. So they looked like the girls wore them for like the sport team, and they looked like they were wearing like really short skirts, but they were actually shorts.
I've no idea. My school had a problem with jeggings, but other than that.
What, jean leggings?
Yeah, pretty much girls who wanted to
problem.
wear leggings that were disguised looking like jeans sort of thing.
Oh.
And obviously, because you know how leggings are, they're insanely revealing about and all this and that sort of thing. But other than that, my school's skirts. Nope, I'm familiar
So
there.
it's like half shorts. It's like
I think the problem with this episode is it could easily be like 4 hours long as we go to... Because there's so much modern comedy and so much past comedy. Like, fucking hell. We'll have to do like 9 sequels to this episode.
Yeah, so it's like... I was thinking... Oh, fuck off. Sorry, no, not you. I'm looking... Sorry.
Good!
I'm trying to like show you it there. Like skirt. So it looks like a mini skirt, but they're actually shorts.
I'm being shown an image on his phone right now, just so you know. Fair enough. That just looks like a... Honestly, that just looked like a short to me. That looks like that looks like the thing they like female tennis players wear.
Yeah, I know, but it's shorts though. But it
Oh,
looks
Serena
like a
Williams,
skirt.
take me. Anyway, quick question, because we talked a lot about, obviously we mentioned a lot of lowbrow comedy earlier regarding like fart jokes and all that. Do you honestly have any experience in like, for example, this is going to be so hard to describe,
Power through it.
I'm going to really try and not sound like a snob here. Highbrow comedy. For example, shows like Frasier or House.
No, the thing is, I'm pretty lazy when it comes to comedy. Like, I don't want to have to like think too hard about comedy. Like, if I have to think about a joke, then I don't really like it.
There's some clever jokes you could instantly get. For example,
but that's the point. Like, there's a clever joke, and if I instantly get it, it's like, oh, that's a really clever joke that I got. But if it's like someone says something like, and there's something, and I'm like, oh, I've got to think about this now. I didn't put on this comedy film to think. Get the fuck out of my face.
Well, for example, a comedy joke from the show Frasier about a psychiatrist who has a radio show. I love it. Watched all 9 seasons. I could talk about it for hours, but I won't. But anyway, he has a joke. He has his brother who's also a psychiatrist. They're in a coffee shop, and he says, I have to go. I'm running a seminar on...
Neil Patrick Harris, isn't it?
Yeah. No, not Neil Patrick Harris. I know the actor's name, but you've now put that in my head.
Kelsey Grammer is
Kelsey Grammer is Frasier.
Down Periscope, fucking hilarious film. Down Periscope is a quality film.
David Hyde Pierce. Yeah, David Hyde Pierce plays his brother, and he says, I've got to go. I'm running a seminar for multiple personality disorders, and it takes ages to fill out the name tags.
Yeah.
Like, that's an example of one of their jokes, and obviously you get that. I feel it takes ages to fill out the name tags. It's clever, but...
I think, personally, it's not that I don't like highbrow... I mean, I don't really get it, because I'm not that smart. But
You're pretty smart.
I think I find that some people that claim, not you, but like some people that claim to be fans of like it. It's a bit like people that claim to be fans of Rick and Morty. I like Rick and Morty. I do not like the fans of Rick and Morty. They're like, oh, you have to be smart to understand this. It's like, motherfucker, you've got characters called Mr. Poopy Butthole and Principal Vagina. Calm down.
I think it's more fans of Rick and Morty think they're Ricks when they're Jerrys.
Well,
no, sorry, they're not Jerrys. Every fan of Rick and Morty is a Beth. Because Beth is the one obsessed with Rick, tries to pretend she's like Rick, when really she just comes off as an asshole that just judges everyone.
Yeah, but it's like, I think, like, I don't know, I think, it's like sort of, it's like, you know, you have, like, fan bases that sort of overshadow their actual
Oh
thing
yeah,
that they're
I
fans
think
of.
Whovians are pretty bad as well. Like
They can be, yeah. I mean, well, pretty
Toxic
much
fan
any-
bases.
I mean, pretty much any, most, but like, I mean, everyone has their like bad things, but you know, but I think that. I think maybe this is just a general thing, not just about comedy, but just a general thing about like people that think like, oh, I'm smarter because I watched this piece of entertainment. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't
Well, again,
really know.
I love Frasier, absolutely love it, and I get all the jokes. But I also love fucking Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore's a quality film, though.
It is. But obviously, the way like you're talking about, people that enjoy highbrow comedy would look down at Happy Gilmore and be like, "Oh, he swings a golf club. Isn't that funny?" Like it's ironic, really, because the fans of highbrow comedy you're describing would be the typical villain in a comedy movie.
Yeah.
Oh, so like the stuffy sort of that is most unorthodox.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's. I mean, I like watching like I like sort of dumb. If I'm gonna watch a comedy film, I kind of want it to be like a bit kind of like. I mean, like you can look at your phone sort of whilst it's on. Like I
don't enjoy
like
comedy
dumb
that's
stuff.
too stupid.
No, not too stupid. No, but
I never laughed at like Beavis and Butthead. That really got on my nerves.
there was that awful fucking Phil. What was it? Holmes and Watson with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly.
Oh, well, even I always said Leonardo. Fucking Johnny Depp did what was that? Mordecai. And,
Mordecai.
so many people that never understood how to make a dumb character funny.
I think there's also Will Ferrell. I do like the other guys. I really like that.
I love that film.
Yeah, but like Will Ferrell and Seth Rogen, a lot of it what I see, and I've also seen it on in just like kind of other ways, like in Vine and other kind of.
I think Will
I
Ferrell's
hate
a lot
to-
funnier as a
I
straight
hate-
man.
I hate to say it as like it's American, but there is this sort of I scream loud. That's funny.
You've come over to my side.
Yeah.
But no, I think that
I can't stand it. It's like, oh, I'm screaming really loudly. This is really funny. It's like, no, it's not.
I think you
No,
hit the
it's
nail on
not.
the head there when you said about the other guys. Will Farrow, now that I think about it in these last 5 seconds, seems to be a lot funnier when he's the straight man. Because
Yeah.
in the other guys, he's a straight man. You can argue, yeah, Ron Burgundy is a little bit ridiculous, but he plays everything he's saying so seriously.
Yeah.
Like,
If you're going to take the piss out of something, you got to take it seriously.
yeah, when Will Farrell is acting, is doing ridiculous shit, but absolutely properly believing it,
That's what
that
makes
seems
it
to be the
funny.
most funny.
I think that is true. Like, if you're going to say something ridiculous, you got to at least look like you're taking it seriously. Because like, if it doesn't look like the actor's taking it seriously, then why should the audience?
Well, like the actor that plays Brick in Anchorman himself, like he says the most horrendous shit,
Steve
but,
Carell.
but he plays it so sort of monotone and so like
again,
sort of like he's talking about the weather.
You were talking about Airplane earlier. Leslie Nielsen, Naked Gun.
Oh,
All of that. Like, he used to be like a really serious actor, but then he started doing these comedy films, and he's absolutely hysterical. Like,
Yeah.
I love the.
it's weird how actors you find out they're hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. And there's another film. It's a short film. It's called Andy Samberg and Kit Harington. Jon Snow.
Yes.
And it's called 7 Days in Hell, and it's a parody of Wimbledon. And it's a parody of like
What, the tennis thing?
yeah, the tennis thing where like
Okay.
you have like Kit Harington and Andy Samberg that are sort of rivals in tennis.
Kit Harington.
Yeah, exactly, and he's absolutely hysterical. Like he's so like he's like this complete like idiot or whatever, and then you have Andy Samberg that doing what Andy Samberg does because Andy Samberg's a funny guy. But the fact is that everyone knows Kit Harington has been like Jon Snow, very serious, kind of brooding, and then he does like these really sort of.
Do you remember being Call of Duty?
No, I didn't play that one.
Because of that.
Yeah. But he basically plays like this absolute moron or whatever, like who.
I'd struggle to imagine that.
Oh mate, I'll send you. I'll show you the trailer after.
Dude.
It's fucking hilarious.
I kind of want to see that because I've only ever seen. Sadly, I don't know the actor's other work because I've only ever seen him. I'm being
He's
honest.
in
Seen him in
Pompeii.
Game of Thrones.
Oh, funny
Wait,
enough.
I've seen Pompeii.
Yeah.
Me and my
Pompeii.
partner have watched it on
Kit
Amazon.
Kit Harington, he's in Pompeii. He's like the main dude.
I'm racking my
Is
brain.
it a different Pompeii you saw? Maybe there's two Pompeii.
There have been a lot of movies
All right,
about
he's
Pompeii.
he's in one of them. And actually, sorry, fun fact. I went to, if anyone...
Now you're
I
saying
went
that.
to see the stage play of Warhorse where he played the main character.
Really? Was it good?
Yeah.
I hear
It was
the
really good.
stagecraft of the
Of the
horse is really
Yeah,
good.
oh
so-
my god. Oh, if anyone ever gets a chance to see the stage play of Warhorse, it's divine.
Theatre can be amazing. Give
Yeah.
it a chance.
Yes, please, because we need work and we're not good on film.
It's funny you mentioned Kit Harington before. You know Adam Driver, who I've accidentally been saying here and there.
Yeah.
He is also really funny because obviously a lot of people mainly know him from the Star Wars movies.
I think pretty much only people know this. I think he's been in other stuff though.
I was leading on to that.
Oh, sorry. Spoilers.
People mostly only know him from the Star Wars movies. A lot of people don't know he actually used to be a Marine in America
Yeah,
before.
he was a US Marine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he did a lot of sketches on SNL, Saturday Night Live, the show in America, a show about sketch comedies. I don't know why I'm explaining
I
that.
think it's been going on for like 25 years or something.
Yeah.
And I think it's got about 4 funny episodes.
There's a lot of Christopher Walken on there. I'd recommend you looking at. But anyway, Adam Driver did a series of sketches on there, and he's fucking hilarious. And the thing is, a lot of SNL actors are often ridiculed for the fact they read cue cards and they don't really stay
Learn lines like professionals.
Exactly. They read cue cards. They corpse. Corpsing is an acting term for when you break your character and laugh.
Which is again unprofessional. We're British people.
Yeah.
British people. We work in the theatre. All right. You only get one shot not to fuck it up.
Yeah, that's why
that's
so
why-
many stage actors are amazing in movies.
Yeah.
We do it in one
Yeah,
take.
because we actually fucking learn lines. Be professional, motherfuckers.
But anyway, SNL actors have this renowned sort of reputation for being notoriously unprofessional. And Adam Driver, every sketch he does, he knows his lines. And he is absolutely delivering 100% effort. And he is so funny. Like we were talking about earlier, the actors that properly are being serious about their comedy.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because
Harking
of...
back to literally how this episode started. Gotta be serious about comedy.
Well, there's a thing about that, because like you were saying before, again, regarding actors that perform their role seriously, maybe it's because of his Marine training about taking an absolute discipline to his...
Working hard. Like, oh, God forbid people do that.
Those of you that are familiar with Adam Driver, please look up his sketches, especially Career Day on SNL. That is the funniest shit ever. You've seen that, hasn't you, as the father?
Yeah, no, we watched it. He showed
That
it to
is
me,
so good.
yeah.
And again, actors that you find out are surprisingly funny, because Tom Cruise is only ever known for like Mission Impossible and wanky roles.
Action
But in
hero.
Tropic Thunder, how fucking hilarious was he as Les Grossman?
Didn't he get like nominated for an Oscar for that or something?
I honestly
I think
don't
he got
know.
nominated for some sort of award for that. But yeah,
When I
he is-
first watched that, I didn't know that was Tom
I
Cruise.
did not know it was Tom
I
Cruise.
had to be told, like, what? Tom Cruise?
No, do you
That
know
was
what I-
him!
No, do you know what I thought? I saw it and then I saw the crowd. I was like, Tom Cruise. I was like, I looked up Tom Cruise. And I typed in, is Tom Cruise fat now? Because I thought, oh fuck, he's let himself go. I didn't realise it was like prosthetics because it looks so.
It is so good, and he is so funny. Like Tom Cruise. Why did you do so many years of shit when you are a really fun? It's like when you get Ben Stiller. We talked about this before.
Tropic Thunder as well.
Any movie that doesn't have Owen Wilson, he's fucking hilarious.
I think Ben Stiller as well, like more adult movies he does, the fight like Dodgeball, Tropic Thunder. I think. The
Oh,
two.
Dodgeball!
like
I just
like
beautiful.
those, I think Ben Stiller is definitely. I think his strong points are in more adult kind of films. I mean, don't get me wrong. Meet the Parents. I kind of like it, mainly for Robert De Niro, who again, serious actor who was in a comedy thing, mainly for Robert De Niro.
Well, Robert De Niro was probably the straight man in that film.
Well, yeah, but he was like Robert De Niro, who's famous, for Taxi Driver and things like
Again,
that.
to be honest, I view Meet the Parents as the kind of misunderstanding comedy that abuses that. Like, oh, he doesn't. There's all this. He does. Like misunderstanding the situation and makes it worse. I really personally don't like those
Parents,
films.
though, I think the reason why it was so successful is because there were no other films out that was quite like it at the time.
I'd agree.
So it was like that was the only if you wanted to see that stuff, that was the only film.
And those were two big names that you'd never seen together
yeah,
before.
star signification, De Niro.
Well, sometimes the only reason
and
projects
stuff
get
like
off the
that.
ground is just attach a star to it.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%.
Like I don't think Jurassic World would have done as well if it didn't have like Chris Pratt and a few other stars.
Oh
on
yeah,
it.
for sure. I mean, the moment you put like names like Samuel L. Jackson or something on a film. Like
Quick aside, who do you think's the funniest actor in the MCU?
In the MCU,
Just because I mentioned Chris Pratt there, and obviously he's the Star Man in the MCU, or what is it?
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord, fuck. Star-Man.
Star-Man.
Well, it's full of superheroes that end with man, other than Thor. But and Black Panther. And anyway, so...
I'm trying to think of it. Iron Man.
Hulk.
Spider-Man. Hulkman.
Hulkman. God, that would have been shit. But no, who do you think's the funniest person in the MCU?
To be fair for me, I think it is...
Don't say Loki.
It's not Loki. No.
Really? Okay.
No, I think
most people go
Thor.
straight for that.
No, I think
Get
it's
Help.
Thor. I think it's Thor.
I did like the Get Help bit. I'll give Ragnarok that.
Yeah.
Get Help was fucking...
But then again, that is kind of a sort of thing. We're not doing this, and then they do it, and that's a joke. No, I think
That's another
Thor,
trope in comedy. Like, there's
Yeah.
cliches and tropes. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah. I think Thor. I think Thor for me.
Thor? What's the funniest
Thor.
moment you've seen for Thor?
Oh man.
Because I doubt Dark World made you fucking laugh.
No.
Other than at how bad it was.
Definitely. Is it the second one?
That was Dark World.
No. Okay, it's not that one then.
It was the first
It's the
one, Dark World,
it's
and
the
then
one
Ragnarok.
Where, it's the one where he's like, what's the bit? Oh, I can't remember what film it is. I can't remember.
Just tell me the bit.
It's the bit where he's like, was it the pits of hell are filled with the screams of his enemies? And he's like, oh, but not the dead ones. Just the injured. Broken clavicles.
I think that was Ragnarok, because even in the first four, they didn't lean into funny that much. They tried to take that ridiculous shit seriously.
Yeah, it might have been. At
least until he went to Earth, because when he went to Earth, they had him get hit by a horse and shit like that, didn't they?
And then also, I think at the end of Endgame, when him and Chris Pratt, Star-Lord meet up, and he's like, just to be clear, this is budget. Yes, no, of course, we all know.
Who's in charge
here? And then he does that little aside, and he does it almost to the camera, and it's just it's the words, and then also the physical kind of.
I do like how Chris Pratt to go. It's me, right? He's like, yes, of course. And then he pulls her face like.
Yeah. And then he does, and then he says, "We all know who's in charge here."
And all the other Guardians are like, you guys should fight to the death for being leaders. Like,
no, there'll be no fighting.
And then Chris Pratt puts on that voice like, who's copying my voice?
My voice.
I think a lot of that's funny because of Chris Pratt more than Thor.
Oh no, there are other thoughts. Like
Chris Pratt does have good timing.
Oh yeah, he does, and the first one as well. And the first one as well. Where he sort of again, it's sort of that misunderstanding thing of comedy. When he
Who's the one that
says,
plays his girlfriend in that? And is it Natalie
Portman? Yeah, Panda Bear or whatever the fuck her name is.
She's Wood. To be fair, she was Wood in Star Wars, and she's Wood there. Learn to act.
Yeah, she's hot though.
Exactly.
But sort of bits where he's like, he's like, this drink, I like it. Another, and he smashes it. Or whatever, and then
I think the funny one it was like when he goes into the pet shop and wants a horse.
I need a horse. And he's like,
we have dogs.
Well, they get me one of those big enough to ride.
That's all right, but I think that's classic. Again, I think that's I don't know if it's a trope or a cliche, the fish out of water thing. Like someone that's in an area he's not familiar with and tries to act like he was in his previous area.
Yeah, but I think what makes it funny is the fact that he is a literal god, but he's out of depth. You know what I mean?
Rod, there's only one god and he doesn't dress like that.
And there's only one god, man. I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like him.
I did love that meme regarding Tony Stark atheist and Chris Pratt Christian comes into life with other pagan gods and they're still the way they are.
What was your favorite? Who do you think is the funniest? Your funniest Marvel.
I'd have to spend the first 10 minutes of this answer detailing every character that's not funny before someone just ends up on top. It goes without saying, obviously, Hawkeye's not funny, Black Widow's not funny, and I'd say Samuel Jackson's a contender.
You just named two people that I don't think are in those films.
What, the MCU?
Yeah, who's Hawkeye? Who's Black Widow? Who are these?
You know what's funny? You could take them out of the MCU and it wouldn't be that different.
Oh no, well it would be because you have to kill Black Widow to get the Soul Stone.
Oh, they'll find someone else. What's the other one who works for S.H.I.E.L.D.? She's fast and he's weird. Her. That one.
She's fast and he's weird.
The one that details the... You comment people, you know.
Are you talking about Wanda and...
No! The one that's... She's one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that talks like she was in fucking Lego games. Anyway. Funniest MCU person. It does help. It doesn't help that a lot of the MCU jokes I haven't enjoyed because I'm a miserable cunt.
Not even like, I don't know, like going back to like Iron Man 1, you got any like, I don't know.
Iron Man was sometimes
I don't think that
funny.
Iron Man's hugely funny, but like even like going back throughout all the like standalone films,
I don't-
you got a joke that sort of tickled you just a
I
little
don't really
bit.
count his snark as jokes,
No, I
which
don't,
makes
I
me
don't either.
struggle.
No,
to,
I was just as an example, like going back through like the old films. Was there any sort of any ones that you know that sort of tickled you a little bit? You're like, oh, no, that's kind of funny.
Shit. I'm really racking the libraries of my brain right now. Give me some MCU films, that might help.
Oh, your favourite, Thor Ragnarok. Infinity Wars.
Hello there. My name's Korg. I talk like this.
Oh my
Isn't that hilarious?
It's Taika Waititi though.
Oh, I got nothing against the guy, but Korg was the most...
Oh my
I
God.
could spend an hour talking about how he's not funny.
The hammer pulled you off.
Christ. Jeff Goldblum was pretty funny in that film. Jeff Goldblum was pretty fun as, what was his name, like the Supreme Master or something like that. Like
Yeah, what was he called?
It was something like that, some wanky grand title, and he was pretty funny of how nonchalant he was about this and that.
I don't think
No, I don't like the S word and all that. Like, you're warriors that don't get paid. Yeah, that's better. Like his little, but those weren't jokes. They were just asides. Shuri was kind of funny in Black Panther, like,
No, she wasn't.
but that was just like siblings, sort of like japes as opposed to jokes.
The fact that she did the "What are those?" Yeah, Vine was once the thing, and you did it in a movie that was made in 2018. Get the fuck out.
I was more thinking about the thing when
That's
she.
not funny. That's cringy. You do not just no.
I was thinking more when she made him like attack the suit and he was blasted back, and even though she knew that would happen.
You're
like...
really gonna say that she's funnier than fucking Claw? Are you honestly? You're gonna say that she's funnier than Claw in that film?
Give me a funny Claw
You know,
line.
Claw when he's like,
Give me a line.
You know, when he's doing the "baby don't hurt me" thing, when he's being interrogated by the fucking CIA dude.
That's a joke.
Yeah, it's funnier than she is. Mate, stop saying that Shuri's funny.
It's
She's
quirky,
not.
I guess, but
Yeah, but stop saying that Shuri's funny, alright? Be an adult.
again, I said
I'm kidding.
but I said those were siblings sort of moments.
Yeah, I know,
like
but
it wouldn't be funny if he wasn't her brother.
Yeah, but it's like, then she also has cringy lines like, oh, do you know what I call these shoes that make you silent? I call them sneakers. Ha ha ha. What a story, Mike. Shut the fuck up.
I'm not saying she's flawless.
But name one joke that was good.
Paul Rudd's quite funny, and a lot of stuff Paul Rudd does as Ant-Man.
Yeah, good.
I didn't
good.
see.
We're getting to funny characters now.
I
Getting
didn't.
funny characters.
I'll be honest. I didn't see Ant-Man and the Wasp because I didn't like the first Ant-Man movie. But Paul Rudd is really kind of funny. I really like it. He's at Baskin Robbins and. Paul Rudd is very good at his when he meets Captain America and he's like sort of fanboying over him.
Oh, Captain America, you're great.
He's like, I guess...
again, he's.
Oh,
like...
Tom Holland. He's quite funny as a kid Spider-Man. His interaction with Tony Stark when he's like, no, I wasn't going for a hug. You know, we're not there yet. That was quite funny. He's like, Tony's leaning over to get the door and Peter thinks he's going in for a hug, and like a lot of their interactions are quite good.
Yeah, again, like we were talking about, like the sort of like the polar opposites, and in a way, you know, you have the fact that like, and it goes into Endgame, the fact that Tony is sort of like a father figure to, you know, Peter Parker and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And stuff, but yeah, no, they are like. I do like these sort of polar opposites thing, and again, like there are things. So, like for instance, like going back to like Thor and Star-Lord, it's like they're both sort of wannabe. Like they all think they're like big men, and so they're in competition.
To be fair, Thor is a big man. Like he's kind of been
a literal god.
Yeah, he's even from the first Thor movie, he's top dog. But Star-Lord he didn't have his crew and shit right away. He had to sort of get to that point where Thor was always, fucking Prince of Asgard.
Yeah, and I like how they're, sort of there's that conflict of competition.
My
that is
boat's
funny.
bigger than your boat.
Yeah.
My boat's double the size
Yeah, I
that
mean, even
yours is.
says, it's like, no. It's like, give me the bigger one, what's it? It's like,
Oh, with Captain America, yeah.
Exactly. It's like, Dick
he picks up
Miller
Mjolnir and Thor goes, I knew it, because that moment in Age of Ultron
Yeah,
where he
I
made
knew
it
it.
jiggle.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh, no. You take the little one. Like, there's still that
Oh,
sort of-
Peter Dinklage is the dwarf when he says,
Yeah.
I don't care, even if I die. Yes, that's what
That's
death
what-
means.
Death means.
I'll do it even if it kills me. Like, yeah, that's what
Isn't there
death
that other thing
means.
like Rocket Raccoon, where it was like, it makes weapons so deadly that just using them would not only kill you but destroy your soul. Is it weird that I want to do it more now? A little bit.
Come to think of it, a lot of MC humour is just snark.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, there's not so much jokes, it's just characters sarcastically reacting.
that's kind of British in a way.
Well, yeah, I don't know the directors or the writers, but I'm willing to
I
bet they
believe
probably.
they're American.
I think a lot of. I think J.J. Abrams.
Taika Waititi's he's from New Zealand.
J.J. Abrams, he did a few MCU movies, didn't he? I think
He
he
did
did.
Star Trek ones.
Oh, he did those films. Those aren't funny. But.
I haven't actually seen. I've seen the second one with Benedict Cumberbatch.
What, Clamber Bitch?
Yeah,
Cuba Natch.
Doctor Weird.
Those films had some alright funny moments.
Have you seen them?
I've seen the Doctor Strange. Yeah, they haven't done the second one
No.
yet, have they?
No, I haven't even seen the first one actually. To be fair.
So why'd you ask? If you had seen them.
No, I was talking about Star Trek. That was
Oh, I thought you were on about
No,
Doctor Clamberbatch.
I said Star Trek. Is the second Star Trek, the new Star Trek film, is the only one?
I think the
watched
last one I
with
saw was,
Cumberbatch
I
in
think it was called Beyond. It had like Khan in it, like
Yeah,
my
no, that's
name is
him.
Khan.
I think that's him. That's Cumberbatch. That's the only one I watched.
He was alright.
I haven't seen Doctor Strange though.
It's not really worth your time.
Is it not? No.
Honestly, no, and that's a shame, really.
This has weirdly got onto like a Marvel discussion.
Yeah, again, holy shit. You know what's almost criminal? It's in an hour and a half, and we've barely named any comedy movies. We haven't mentioned Ace Ventura. We haven't referenced like maybe the crapper films like the Hangover trilogies.
Well,
or...
let's make this one into a long one. I think we can do it.
I don't know. How well did the Halloween one do? That was 2.5 hours, and we got like 8 views.
Hey,
You and me.
I was those first 8. All right.
You and me wanking on lyrically about the nature of fucking hot. Oh shit! Is this gonna be another repeat? We've discussed in depth
Okay.
the nature of comedy.
Okay, let's just chat some shit about some like comedy films, right?
I'd say okay. Let's make it a bit easier. We'll start off with Robin Williams. We mentioned him a little bit earlier, like the sort of films he's done, greatness, and goes without saying. I'd say my first experience with Robin Williams was probably either Mrs. Doubtfire or Genie from Aladdin.
My first one was G from Aladdin, then Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. By the way, when you got older and you watched his stand-up, where he would say the most heinous shit.
Yeah, I also like I was watching it and then I watched a biographical sort of video on him, and apparently the man loved the Bonnie Prince Charlie, like the white stuff, the booger sugar.
Dude, again,
Yeah, like-
if you ever like the
And
guy.
then you watch that comedy, you're like, yeah, no, that energy, that ain't natural. Like he's
He would have stand-up about cocaine, like he.
Yeah,
It was
real
not
sad
like
though, because like one of his mates like took a load of cocaine and died, and he was like, but he like asked, it was like he had like a mate, and he was like, oh, do you want to come out to my hotel? We'll do some of the Chang, and he was like, oh no, I can't. So he went. So Robin went back to his hotel room, and then his mate OD'd on the cocaine, and
What do they call
man.
it? The devil's dandruff.
Devil's Dandruff.
I love
I
those
like-
names
I-
for it.
I like-
Peruvian marching powder. I love the names for
Colombian good.
it.
No, Booger Sugar I think is my favourite one.
That's good.
But yeah, no, Robin Williams.
We at Laughing on a Prayer do not endorse the taking of drugs in any professional manner.
Unless it's for medicinal purposes
Absolutely.
or recreational purposes.
But no, I think, Robin Williams is actually a massive gamer as well. His daughter, whose name's Zelda. And he was actually a massive fan of World of Warcraft.
He's also a massive fan of D&D and Warhammer. Although, now look, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but he collected Eldar armies. If you're a Warhammer player, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway,
You're appealing to no one.
I'm appealing to Warhammer players.
And out of our 20 listeners, how many of them do you think are Warhammer players?
Well, I don't know. Some of them might. Some of them might. I mean, if they want to spend long periods of time wasting their time, they're going to listen to this podcast, aren't they?
Well,
Much like painting models.
Come
on, man. How long have you known me?
It is a tragedy what happened to him.
Yeah.
Quick aside, and I really don't want this to get sad at the end. Do you think there's a weird correlation behind how so many comedians end up depressed? I mean, even Jim Carrey himself went through depression, and there is that old phrase, tears of a clown.
Well, do you know what I think, and this could be complete bollocks, but this is just what I think.
By all means.
Is that, performers, musicians, people like us, actors, all this stuff, we're all sort of cut from the same cloth. And one of the sort of correlations that has been found is that people like us that perform and stuff, we generally have like a very addictive personality. And so, for instance, we
go on as I drink this beer.
Yeah, exactly. As we love like for me, like the first, like the sort of the 30 seconds before I go on stage are like the fucking best moments of my life. Like I get high off that shit, and so once you don't get that sort of fix, you look for something else, and that's why like musicians, they're sort of infamous for having kind of drug problems, as are actors and things like that.
Do you think that's more of a system of opportunity rather than their own mentality, though?
Well,
like musicians, like the Rolling Stones and all that, they would have drugs and women thrown at them.
Well, yeah, potentially, but I think that it's that you'd have to have that personality to get into that line of work in the first place, wouldn't you? Really, and that's why I think
I would say they're more gradually corrupted.
Well, I wouldn't say like a straight edge person would suddenly go into, entertainment.
You haven't heard a lot of Christian rock, have you?
No, but it's like, all.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah,
yes,
I think
course.
all performers somewhat all the performers I've met are somewhat unhinged in some way.
But I think more comedians go towards depression than regular actors. Or honestly, okay, feel free to rate me in the comments. But I would say comedians are probably the most likely candidates for depression because there has been so many.
Well, potentially, yeah. I mean, again, like like musicians as well, because in their music, they always like to sort of kind of put their feelings out there in art form.
Would you say it's rather galling that someone, especially because of comedians, whose work is about laughter, are the saddest of all?
Mm-hmm. Maybe not the saddest of all, but I think there's probably something to be said for that. I think there's definitely something to be said for the fact that, trying to, this kind of just goes into sort of real life, like trying to make people happy all the time, that's going to burn you out at some point, isn't it?
Absolutely. Do you think maybe it's a matter of what's it say when you're exposed to enough violence, you become desensitized? Do you think comedians become desensitized to happiness because they dispense comedy and comedy makes you happy? So you sort of almost stop finding joy in joy.
Damn, man. Yeah, maybe.
I didn't mean for this to get so heavy.
No, that's a good question. That's a good question, though. Like, I think maybe because, I mean, I definitely...
I wouldn't say we're miserable, but we're not the most positive fellows, are we? Comedy's our lives.
Because, like, you've done, like, way more stand-up than I have. So, like, do you feel like the more jokes you write, the more you're sort of like, oh, I don't really...
There's a phrase in France. It's called petit mort. It's something you feel supposedly after you have sex. The petit mort is referred to as the little death, where after sex you feel an overwhelming sense of absolute entropy and all that depression. And I won't lie, after I've come off stage sometimes, I've sometimes felt a little bit of the petit mort. Like sometimes I felt after making people laugh, I sometimes come on stage like, so what's left of me?
Yeah.
You go out stage and you give people parts of yourself. Every time you go on stage, it's another part of yourself for people to enjoy. Yeah. But when you go off stage, what's left?
I think that's why I like to do like characters and shit. Like I love to do Angus, I love to do Dimitri.
A wall.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like it's not me, so I can sort of I don't know. I think that's why I like to do it. Because if people saw the real me, wouldn't be good.
Would you say maybe you more? Well, for example, your character is in a way your baby. So even though it's a wall between yourself and it is still in a way a part of you or an extension of your creative being.
Yeah, potentially. I think that is true. I think though that I don't know. I think that I like I like the characters that I do to be sort of like middlemen between performance and myself, if that makes any sense, which I don't think it does.
Well, the other blues brother, drawing a blank at his name at the moment, sadly died due to drug overdose. Obviously, it doesn't help I'm not remembering the name right now, but he was on SNL. He was a famously funny man, and he died of drug overdose and all that sort of thing. And one could argue the pressure of comedy is almost as... You could almost argue that comedy is one of the most demanding forms of entertainment.
The blues, the film?
Yeah, the actors that played the Blues Brothers.
John Belushi.
Thank you, John Belushi. Yeah, sadly he died of a drug overdose.
Dan Aykroyd, man, that's a funny guy.
He's still going. Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
But John Belushi died of a drug overdose, and there was a movie of him called Wired, and it detailed a lot about how his training and all that sort of thing. And again, the demands of comedy on comedians and all that is so like it like drenches you dry sort of thing. It's almost like comedy is it's a reason why like Jim Carrey and all that like you often find comedians make the best actors because they are so used to being pushed to the absolute limits of human representation of their emotions that they're able to exuberate themselves in such a dramatic fashion. And I think that's because comedy is by itself the raw, entropic nature of human in its entire sort of representation.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. I think that's definitely true because, I think there's this... like, even if you're just standing up by yourself, I mean, you definitely, know this. Standing up by yourself with a microphone, telling jokes. It's like, it's you, and you there's no sort of other cast members or other characters that you interact with. It's just you, and so you've got to basically be the sort of the one-man band.
Oh, you've been on stage yourself, by yourself.
Yeah, but I think like I said, I've created the barrier of creating stupid characters that it's not me. Like I would not like to sort of be me on stage in front.
It is galling because, like, I think isolation.
I respect you for that. The reason why I make characters is because I'm not brave enough to actually put myself on there. That's why I respect you for doing that.
Well,
to be fair.
Again, like you said earlier, it could be a form of self-harm and all that sort of thing. Because, like you said, you do bare yourself to the world. Like, you see a comedian on stage, the comedian might see himself as though he's naked. There's that old adage about a performer: if you're feeling nervous, picture the audience naked. But often enough, you'll find a performance. They feel naked because they are bearing themselves to the unpredictable reaction of chaos theory. Because all these random people, all with their own lives, they could react in any way. And your inability to predict that is grueling.
Yeah, it's sod's law, isn't it? It's like anything that can go wrong will go wrong. You can have the greatest fucking comedy show in the world, but it can still go tits up.
Yeah.
Just because that's just the way
there isn't a single comedian, there isn't a single successful comedian that doesn't have a story of a gig that went horrible.
Oh, yeah, no. 100%.
Because it's almost like the sword of Damocles. It's the age-old thing. You can't please everyone.
I mean, I've been...
You can't please everyone. And your act will bomb, and that will cripple you emotionally.
Yeah. I mean, I've had... this was back fucking... 2000... This was just after we finished Uni 5 and a Hat, when we did a thing on the Western Pier. I've had people walk out. I've had people walk out of our show, like, because it was, like, really bad. And then when you're there, you're just like, oh, fuck, do I want to do this? But then you're like, actually, first of all, it makes a really good story. And second of all, it's like, okay, well, that didn't work. Like we were talking about, like you were talking about before about, like, if the audience doesn't laugh, then it's a bad joke. They didn't laugh. Okay, you learn from it. As long as you learn from it, it's not a mistake.
Oh, exactly. And that's part of the craft.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, if you're a comedian and no one has walked out of your show, I don't trust you.
I'd say you're a liar.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be or you haven't done enough. But like, I've had people like
no one has a flawless act from the get-go.
Yeah,
it is always trial and error.
Yeah, I've had people like have people walking out, have people say, oh, this is boring, and you're just like, but you got to power through it. You got to do it. You got to do it, man.
I'd be willing to bet if you sat Lee Evans down, famous English comedian Lee Evans, look him up, he's incredible. if you sat him down and said, how was it at the start of your career? I'd be willing to bet he would say, oh, it was terrible. I had 5 shows in a row and no one laughed. And then eventually he learned how to be funny.
Yeah, to be fair, I'd say it was really shit, but, like, you know, if it's shit, then at least you can learn something from it.
So would you
like
say...
getting praise all the time.
So would you say then maybe the correlation between comedians and depression comes from either the demands of the craft itself, from trial and error, or from, like I said before, the nature of comedy draining you of the ability to feel joy like endorphins because that's what you peddle? Never try your own supply sort of thing.
I think I think definitely, you know, I mean, we know this.
Are comedians just mental drug dealers?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, we know this because, you know, when we've done Arthur and Angus, we've had shows that have gone really well and we've always felt really great, but then we have shows, we've also done shows that have gone tits up.
Yeah.
And then we've always felt shit, you know?
Yeah.
But I think
we've had to drink those off.
Yeah, I mean, we've done, you know, it's like, hey, look, in victory, you deserve a drink. In defeat, you need one.
That's a good phrase.
But like we've done that, and I think that's true. Like, if you're used to loads of people laughing at you, and then suddenly they don't, you're gonna feel bad, aren't you?
Oh,
and then
absolutely.
you're gonna turn us. And no one wants, because like you're trying to make people feel good, but then you don't. But then you're also trying to make yourself feel good, and then if you don't
I think
get
it's
that
how
payoff,
much more personally it is. Like, at my current job, I'm a bartender. Someone tells me, mate, you're shit at making this drink. I won't care. But because I am a comedian, I value myself as a person. Someone says I'm a shit comedian, that's who I am.
Yeah, I think I'd much rather someone say you're shit at making this drink than you're a shit comedian. But
exactly, because I don't see myself as a bartender.
there is to do like feedback. Like if someone says, "Oh, that was shit," okay, why was it bad? Why did you not like it? If they don't say anything, then you can just disregard that because they didn't have anything to give.
There is
if someone
something to
says,
say for...
I didn't like this because it was phrased kind of weird.
Oh, yeah.
It dragged a bit. A lot of stuff like, it's okay, that's feedback. That can be worked on. But if someone just, oh, that's bad. Why? I don't know. I don't have a contact number in my phone under the name father. Like,
there are two sides of the coin.
And that was a dark joke because this is a comedy episode.
There are two sides of the coin. There are the audience members that are shit at giving feedback, and yes, that does exist. Yes. Someone is by all means willing to say, I didn't find that funny.
Yeah, that's fine.
But if that's all they say, what can you do with that? Yeah. I didn't find that funny. Yeah. That is nothing. That's nothing. That's the equivalent of, like, for someone, like, you ask a question and someone raises their arm and says, I don't know. That's the equivalent of that. But there is the other side of the coin where you do get some professionals that can't take feedback.
Yes.
There are obviously those that even take constructive criticism as something absolutely personal to them and not the craft they portray.
I've definitely met a few people where you said, hey, look, I've said to them, it's like, hey, so like this bit, like I think this could be worked on. And because of this, and that. And they said, oh yeah, but the thing is, the reason why it's like this is because, and it's like, yeah, look,
I feel I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I think you might. But it's like, this is why it is. It's like, yeah, that's not really the point. Like, the point is, I'm telling you that I didn't like it, and I'm telling you why I didn't like it, and what potentially you could think about. But then you're defending something that I've just told you isn't working.
I'd say, you're right. The worst kind of performer is someone who says, you didn't like it because
you've worked with said person as well. Yeah, haven't you?
I'd say, like, the worst sort of performer you can get is someone that would say, you didn't like it because you didn't get it.
Yeah.
That is a horrible mentality to have. You will, if you have that impression, you will never improve.
And that goes back to comedy. It's like people say, I didn't find that joke funny. And then I didn't find that joke funny because of this. And then
it's like I said, I go out and tell a bunch of samurai jokes.
Exactly. And then but it's like, say you told a joke that didn't work, hypothetically, and then you said, oh yeah, but you just don't get it because you're not smart enough. It's like, that's not the point. The audience is there to consume your content. You're supposed to be the one presenting it.
Which goes back to my point about relatability.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're not relating to them, you're not telling jokes. You're telling jokes you like. And I don't get me wrong, I don't put out a joke I don't think is funny. But I won't put out a joke that I don't think anyone else will think it's funny.
Yeah, no one pulls a joke out like that they don't think's funny. Like who does that? Like I would never like write a joke and say, oh well, I don't think this is funny. Like who does that? No one.
Although I have often noticed this one have been my most favourite things in again our Arthur and Angus series. Obviously, how that process is written is how that process is gone is I write the skeleton of the script. I take it to Rob.
And then I hold it up in front of him, rip it in half. I tell him it's shit. And then I kick him out of my house.
But we work on it. Jokes are trained. Because for some reason I write as though two people have never spoken to any other human beings in their lives. So
I mean, look at the characters we play.
So we work it in a way in which it works. But when we perform it, the jokes I think will get the biggest laugh, get little chuckles, and the jokes I wrote that were like throwaways, like jokes that were meant to get chuckles, get the biggest laughs. And that has been the biggest paradox to me as a comedy writer.
It's like you think that you're like I mean, I've done it as well. That's the thing. You're like, oh yeah, this joke's gonna be amazing, and then no one laughs. You're like, oh, that's really shit. And then you do you say something that's not even supposed to be funny, and then people are, and you better believe we write that shit down. We remember the jokes. Like, well, this worked. Why? I don't fucking know, but it did, and now
there is a lot of chaos in comedy.
We are, for sure. I mean, I think we're pretty chaotic in our writing, sort of. I mean, people might be surprised to know if you ever watch the Arthur and Angus videos that are on this YouTube channel.
Watch it.
That we actually write. Dylan actually, well, first of all, can write, and I can actually read, and we actually do scripts.
Again, everything in those episodes was written and workshopped. Like I said, I write the skeleton and me and Rob add the meat to it as we rehearse it.
Exactly. We like meat. Meat.
But would you say overall as a comedian... Oh, actually, you said earlier you don't identify as a comedian, do you?
No, I don't really identify as a comedian. I'm not... I feel like... I like to kind of do funny stuff, but I wouldn't call myself a comedian. I in a way,
I'm more of a laughter engineer.
I'm not a comedian. I'm just a really funny guy. But no, I like to say that I'm. I don't know. I don't like to categorize particularly. So I like to do sort of all different types of stuff. I mean, we know that you and I we've both done serious stuff as well. Despite the fact that our predominant thing is to be funny.
Oh yes, we've done Shakespeare, Brecht, fucking Butoh.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like
we have degrees and fucking.
Yeah, we've also been edgelords and done Arto. Oh.
Do you remember Puppeteer? No listeners will get this, but fucking hell.
That's not on this channel, is it?
No, that's on my old one, Foxhead Theatre. Do you remember that shit? God. Me and Rob once did physical theatre, which in itself is a redundant phrase, about a possessed puppet sort of bullshit.
It was your idea, man. I mean, we did it.
Oh yeah, by the way, Puppeteer is spelled T-E-A-R, because I'm so fucking edgy. I could cut paper with that.
Oh, we also had a red gel, in the lighting as well. That's.
Oh yeah, it was done in red because like the opening of Bronson.
I watched that film recently, man.
I love that film.
No, but
that film's quite unintentionally funny as well. I mean, it was probably intended, but it's very sort of how would you describe
Is that dark humor?
How is about to say unpleasant gangster comedies? Is that gallows humor?
I mean, just unpleasant films, there can be really funny ones. I mean,
gallows humor.
Again, Tom Hardy, legend. Some bits in that film are hilarious.
I call it gallows humor.
I think having comedy, it doesn't have to be a purely comedy film. I think.
Would you definitely call gallows humor dark comedy an acquired taste?
Yes, I think I would. Because there are some dark, and it was dark.
Very dark, but no dark comedy.
I fucking forgot what I was going to say.
In the span of 2 seconds. No, we were talking about dark comedy and the fact that it's such a niche concept, and I think the reason is that because even though we discussed earlier the idea of comedy comes from misery and it's a form of coping and all that, some people. How do I explain this? Yes, because I'm so fucking smart. No, when I say this, I mean in the sort of
I mean,
thing.
you saw the fucking caption at the beginning, okay? We're two idiots.
Dark comedy is completely dependent on context. Someone, for example, makes a dark joke about a dead baby, and someone that doesn't get it thinks, "Oh, you think dead babies are funny?" And the person that told the joke is like, "No, the reason it's funny is because dead babies are in this context."
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's way easier to judge than it is to be smart.
You can't look at dark comedy on the surface. You need to understand it.
And I do like...
Although you did say earlier you don't like jokes you think about, but I think this is a different animal.
Well, I think it's more like jokes that... it's not the jokes I think about, but it's sort of like jokes that I have to kind of spend time, and if I don't get a certain reference to them, because I just haven't watched a piece of media or read a certain book, that therefore I don't get. So, oh, you haven't read this book, therefore you won't get the joke, therefore you are a plebeian.
Would you perhaps agree that there's... Even though dark comedy is celebrated, would you say there's a piece of dark comedy that is so dark? And we talked about earlier, you need to make a joke relatable. There's almost like a dark comedy that is so dark, there's like almost no audience for it, thus rendering it almost like impractical to use as comedy. Like joke, like for example, talking about, I don't know, rapes in Auschwitz. Like there is such a minute audience that will laugh at that. Is it even worth doing?
I think though that like everyone at some point in their life has laughed at a very offensive joke.
Absolutely.
Everyone has.
Intentionally or not.
Yeah, intentionally or not. Like you have done. You know, I mean, okay, so look, obviously, you know, like racist jokes are like bad. But do not...
That's a brave stance.
Do not sit and tell me that at no point when you were like, 12 years old, you laughed at a racist joke. You did. But you're a 12-year-old. It's fine.
Bear in mind what you screamed over a mic in a Call of Duty lobby.
Exactly. But you're an adult now. You know the joke you laughed at when you were 12. Okay? All right. But you're a 12-year-old. Okay? You're a fucking idiot. All right? I mean, we're fucking idiots. We're grown-ass men. I'm like, but there are jokes... I mean, there are jokes that are specifically there for shock value. You know,
I'm
and
not
some
a big
people love
fan
to
of
say,
those personally.
Are you not? No, I think...
Again, I think it's more like I say with fart jokes. Jokes that are just there to provoke reaction. I don't think are really jokes.
Maybe not.
Like,
no.
I raped my baby the other day, and everyone just goes, ooh.
Well, that's not a joke, though, is it? That's
exactly.
But, like, say you had a really offensive joke that had, like, some sort of intelligence behind it, maybe.
Again, as you know, I've made people leave a room because of certain jokes I've told.
I've got one that I'm not going to say on this podcast, though.
Again, at this point, I'd be remarked if anyone is still listening.
Yeah.
I'd almost say tell it just to see if anyone's gotten this far.
Do you want me to tell it?
Kind of.
Okay,
I want to see if you're listening this far, then I'm proud of you.
Okay. I want to preface this right now. Anyone who is listening, okay, this joke is awful.
If no one comments about this is almost proof that no one listens the whole thing.
Okay, this joke is awful. I do not believe what I say. This joke is terrible. And I just want to reiterate that if you're offended by this joke, you've been warned. Okay, so if you get offended by it, this is your fault.
Victim blaming.
No. Okay, because this joke is real bad.
Just go. Right. Is it the Aristocrats?
No, it is not.
Hate that joke. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I hate that joke. I want to congratulate George Floyd on 1 year of sobriety. Yeah, I said it was bad.
I've got one better worse than that.
Do you? Say it.
What's the worst part about being a black Jew? Having to sit at the back of the oven.
God. If 5.5 YouTube gets fucking cancelled by this,
imagine that just as we hit 600 subscribers, I just got his fucking.
Do you really think that yours
this would be our
worse?
first strike. I think that. Okay, it's an old joke, but it's not as topical. But that has been one of I always keep that in my wallet. Is whenever I'm around people and they start telling bad like dark jokes, and I'm like, I reveal it like a trap card in Yu-Gi-Oh.
I would.
Ha ha!
If you don't play Yu-Gi-Oh, if you play Warhammer, I reveal it as a stratagem. No, that's the only one that I was like I would never say that to like other people. I would only say it to you because, well, you and like maybe 2 other people. I was like,
I'm pretty sure my partner wouldn't appreciate it.
Yeah, no, no. So, hey, look, I might be an idiot, but I'm not stupid.
God, could you imagine, like, that would be the way it would go. You and me fucking on, like, a BLM, maybe we're guest starring on a radio thing, or we're guest starring on a BLM podcast sort of thing.
I don't think we'd go on a BLM podcast. I mean, the thing is, though,
we are supporters, but...
Yeah, I know, but we're 2 white men.
Exactly, but that's just the thing, because that would be the only way for them to get their message out, is if we regurgitate their shit. No, I'm not saying what they're saying is shit. I mean, the idea of it having to come out of us. Oh shit, I'm fucked up.
Also, we're not political.
No, we're not in any way.
Like, they're like, oh, do you want to say this political thing? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that, mate.
Doesn't sound that funny.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I do.
Sorry.
Again, no one.
Sorry, your very serious, human rights cause doesn't sound very funny to me.
I hope none of our audience is influenced by us.
No,
please
why?
don't take, if by all means any arguments we've said you want to regurgitate, have at it. But please don't hold us to any sort of moral standard.
No, you don't have to. Hey, the disclaimer is at the beginning. We are definitely not going to court, he says. Hopefully, maybe.
Again.
I don't know. Definitely not going to blame you for everything.
We have close to 600 subscribers, but we struggle to get past 100 views. I don't think we're going to have to worry about going viral.
I struggle with a few things, to be fair. Anyway, I have one last question before we close this out.
Right, go for it.
Okay. And this is a bit of a weird one, but I think it's kind of a cool one.
Okay, go for it.
Are there any sort of lines in a film that are unintentionally just really funny to you? Like a film that you've seen where a line has been said and you laughed at it, even though, or a bit, not even a line, but like a bit in a film that you laughed at that is unintentionally funny to you. But like no one else laughed, but you were like, oh, that's
Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove. That moment was said, hey, there's no fighting in the war room. That just made me just like, there's no fighting in the war room. Just instantly, that just made me think of that. Yeah, that moment, that was just so...
Do you know what I remember, actually? Is when we were at uni and I got the DVD of, Insidious 3.
Was that the key one where I laughed?
Yeah, and like we were watching it, and it's the bit like when the girl gets run over by the car.
Yeah, she gets hit by
that was literally
out of nowhere.
That was the only reaction you had to that film. You just went like when she got hit by
laughed
the car.
my ass off. This girl standing in the road and just. It's like it apparated out of nowhere. Not as if she heard a car speeding down the road or anything. Just like out of nowhere, just out of sight of the camera, whack.
Yeah, exactly. And like your only reaction was just like, I was gonna just... I don't know. I think my one for me, I think. Again, so like a non-comedy film that just sort of had a line that was like quite funny to me. Did I mention this before? I think I might have mentioned this all, but it's Spider-Man 1, with Tobey Maguire.
There were a lot of comedy moments in that film.
Yeah, but it's like a line that's not supposed to be...
Like?
But it's not a comedy film, though, is it?
I was worried you were going to be like Star Wars, the Sand speech.
No, because that's not funny. That's cringe. But Spider-Man 1, that's not a comedy film. It's a superhero action film, right? It's not a comedy film, right? But just like the one line with Willem Dafoe when, I
don't know, Bonesaw.
It's, they're having, it's like Willem Dafoe, they're all having, like lunch together with Aunt May, Mary Jane and stuff like that.
Oh, they're on Thanksgiving, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then he comes in, he says, "Oh, sorry, work was murder." I was like, "Work was murder." Like,
I think that was intentional. That was like wordplay.
No, but it wasn't. But it made me laugh in like a non-comedy.
All right.
Like sort of film. It's like work was murder. That's like one of my favorite lines actually.
If that film didn't have Willem Dafoe,
such.
Actually, I think would have been maybe funnier than Willem Dafoe. Christopher Walken. Imagine if he'd been the Green Goblin.
Oh, Peter Parker, my boy.
Harry, you've got to leave MJ.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
What about my generous author? Are you in
No.
or are you out?
His heart.
One of my favorite
Norman.
One of my favorite little games to play is inserting actors. Like again, imagine Christopher Walker as instead of Gerard Butler in 300. Like tonight we're dying in hell. Or Cat Williams in fucking like.
I am a generous god.
Cat Williams in fucking Titanic. Like, okay, I want you to draw me like one of your French girls up in here now. Okay. Are you familiar with Cat Williams?
Is it Cat Williams?
He's a black comedian.
Oh, right.
Okay, never mind. I can't do an Eddie Murphy impression that well.
Man,
There's an
Eddie
amazing
Murphy,
black comedian
funny.
called Jay Farrow who can do Cat Williams, Eddie Murphy, what's his name? Fucking from Jumanji. Fucking the black guy from the Jumanji movie.
The
Fucking
Rock, Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. He does a Kevin Hart.
The last.
Oh, he's amazing. Check him out on SNL sometimes. He does flawless impressions. Jay Farrow.
I think Kevin Hart, I do love his stand-up. Not huge fan of his films, but I think his stand-up's real good.
This is actually, believe it or not, this was actually a journey for me. Because when I with my partner, at first I was like, oh, Kevin Hart. Because I'd only seen him in cringe movies like that one he did with The Rock and absolute shit.
Yeah,
like,
which one?
I think it was...
Yeah, he's done loads with The Rock.
It was one with... what does that say? But it was involving the CIA,
Oh, yeah.
Kevin Hart seems to be like a wannabe Eddie Murphy. But bear in mind, this is how I thought. He seemed like a wannabe Eddie Murphy, the sort of fast-talking, awkward, sort of situational sort of black comedian. But then I saw his stand-up at the first time. I think it was called, I think it was when he was in a... He did the spin
Which one was it called? I've seen
It was in a football stadium. He was talking about... So I was like, all right.
I think that was...
We're going to learn today.
I think that was even called Seriously Funny or Let Me Explain.
At first, I was like, all right. And before everyone jumps down my throat, I loved Eddie Murphy's Raw and I loved Delirious. I watched Richard Pryor, so I do understand a lot of cultural funniness regarding black comedy. And there actually is a style to it, which I will not lament into. But then I watched his other stuff. One involving, had some really annoying opening where he's a super spy. That went on for like 20 minutes.
What, a film or a stand-up?
His stand-up. You know how some stand-ups have like a little bit of opening spiel?
The thing is, I don't know those because I will skip those bits. I only go to the comedy.
Ray, my partner loved it. So I...
Yes, because there's more than one person in the world called Ray.
Yeah, I dug up Ray Charles and I'm with him. Anyway, but... I had to watch that shit.
But why the fuck are we poor? Like, come on, man, get some money out of that.
But over time, he's actually really funny.
Yeah,
and I'm sure he's on the edge of his seat listening right now, waiting for my approval. But no, actually, it took me a while, but I was actually converted, and I actually find him really good.
Yeah, no, I saw him in Fool's Gold, which has Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey in it, and he actually plays a villain. He actually plays a bad guy in Fool's Gold.
Oh, right.
And he is, like... he's actually quite funny in that film. The other films like Ride Along and other films that he's in.
That was another one I saw. It was shit.
But his stand up, I watched his first stand up I watched, which was seriously funny, and then I watched Let Me Explain. Those are they were nice. I found it like really really funny, and then and the thing is again Kevin Hart, he's a performer. You know, it's not just him telling jokes. Like he performs.
Like Lee Evans.
Yeah, exactly. He does it. Or like even if he sort of messes stuff up, it doesn't matter. It's a performance. It's like when you go see a band to play. Like if you want to hear them playing their song perfectly, just listen to the.
But when you see them on stage rocking out to their own music and they're loving it and that.
Yeah, even if they mess it up. You go for the performance. You don't go for them to play their...
Oh, yeah, seeing something live is like a whole new world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
A new fantastic way to be.
Yeah. a new fantastic point of view.
And someone tries to stop you, no one can tell you no or where to go.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No one's going to give you up. No one's going to let you down. No one's going to run around.
Will they desert you?
No. The thing is, Dylan, they won't. They know the rules.
Will they say...
And so do I.
Will they say goodbye?
No, that's the thing. That's what's so good about it. They won't, mate. They just won't. It's just amazing.
God, that broke me. That fucking broke me. Keep talking, I'm broken.
Oh well.
We got dead air.
Good.
We got dead air.
Yeah,
Keep talking.
You will submit to me one way or the other.
Keep talking, I'm broken.
I think I do like, because not to go into too much of sort of bad stuff, but whenever I'm feeling a little bit kind of down, sort of stuff like that, I like to put on like a comedy show, listen to jokes, and listening to other people laugh. I was talking about it, listening to other people, like laughter, like sort of, if I'm feeling a bit down on some days, I have good days, I have bad days, everyone does, but I like, listening to some people laughing, listening to some jokes, even if I've heard the jokes before, if I like the jokes, I like, personally, I like listening to Dave Chappelle, I love that guy.
Oh, another amazing black comedian.
Exactly. Yeah, and James Acaster is actually a fucking solid guy. You gotta watch it. He's hilarious. I like listening to comedians. I like listening to jokes. If I'm feeling a bit down, I do it. I mean, it's kind of sad, but I just kind of, sort of sit down and just listen to some jokes, and it makes me feel better. And I think that at the heart of it, that's what comedy is supposed to do. It's supposed to make people feel good, and
absolutely,
yeah, that's. That is my. I think that is my closing point on this podcast. Actually, I think
comedy's about feeling good.
Yeah, it's about feeling.
What a brave stance to take.
Yes, exactly. I am stunning and brave, Dylan. I am stunning and brave.
All right. Again, no one's listening at this point, so I'm pro fracking.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, pretty much just hollowing out under houses foundation to get like natural gases and shit. Fucks up the environment. I'm pro fracking. Frack you.
I'm pro. I'm just pro. I'm just pro.
Yeah, should we pro-abortion? Yeah, pro-abortion.
I'm pro everything.
Get those little...
Yeah, I'm pro-life and I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-everything, mate.
Get those little hacky-sackies out of there.
Yeah, exactly. Let those kids live and then kill them.
There's a tennis ball shortage. We need them.
Yes, exactly.
If that was too dark, you have not been listening for the last 2 hours.
Trust me, no one's been listening for the last 30 minutes. No,
I like to believe it or not, we do have fans out there, especially given the latest illustrations we witnessed, who I believe listen all the way through. When I say illustrations, obviously that bit of art with us and about us, and then again another fan, Molly, who commented on our last piece regarding fictional couples, who I know we only talked about at the end of our podcast, so it means some people do get to the end.
I mean, to be fair, Molly's done a lot for this channel.
Yeah, you're the only thing keeping it afloat,
also,
Molly.
if I don't know, Molly, if you are listening to this, or if anyone's listening to this by this point, but Molly is actually going to be featuring at some point, doing her own little thing. So for the 5 and a Hat Company.
Should we mention who with, or shall we wait? Or
she's going to be doing it with Becca, but we should probably link our Instagram at some point.
I was about to say that name you just dropped. Nobody knows.
Oh, but you
go through her old videos. You'll come across her.
Yes. both those.
They're both really funny and insightful and smart. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
But they don't need us to build them up. They're strong, independent women that don't need no man.
Yeah. They're also like both of them are like way hotter than us as well. So
Well, that goes without saying. We're fucking trolls.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
and I'm Ginger.
And I'm Rob.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah, no.
Anyway,
no,
if you've enjoyed, I have to do the spiel, don't I? If you've enjoyed,
you don't have to. You can leave them hanging.
Let us know down in the comments below your favourite comedy moments, your favourite comedy films, your favourite comedy actors, your favourite comedians, or any of the heinous shit me and Rob have said that you disagree with. Let us know down in the comments. We would actually like to see it, because we and Rob are not fucking troglodytes. We are always welcome to see a different point of view and perhaps even change our minds. So point it down below. We are open to all new ideas and legs.
Yes, we love to open our legs, and we love to be open-ended to questions and statements and pretty much anything else on the internet, because as you saw at the beginning of this video, we are two idiots that have no idea what we're talking about.
Given mine and Rob's new collection of butt plugs, we are certainly open-ended more now than ever.
Yeah, exactly. My favourite is the heart-shaped one.
Oh, that one is definitely pretty. I like how it sparkles.
Yeah, no, I love the jewels, the jewel ones. They're the ones. And anyway, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone in between, you have been listening to
Laughing on a Prayer.